Today's episode is brought to you by elitefts.com. Founded in 1998 with the primary aim to live, learn, and pass on. Please help Elite FTS support this mission by smashing the like button, leaving a comment, sharing with a friend, and thinking of us for your training needs. If you can put it in a gym bag or load weights on it, Elite FTS has it.
What's going on? I'm Dave Tate. We are broadcasting from the middle of the Elite FTS weight room, where the underground still thrives and you're part of the crew. It's time to sit down, keep it real, and cut the bullshit. Welcome to Table Talk. Today's episode is brought to you by LMNT, a tasty electrolyte drink mix with everything that you need and nothing that you don't. In other words, no sugar, no artificial coloring, no artificial ingredients, no gluten, no fillers, and no BS. With LMNT, I love the watermelon. The watermelon tastes freaking awesome. I drink one pack every day, no matter what. People that train out here, it's sitting out here for them all the time. The boxes don't last very long. Right now, LMNT is offering Table Talk listeners a free sample pack with any purchase. That's 8 single serving packages free with any LMNT order. Get yours at drinklmnt.com/Table Talk. The deal is only available through the link in the description. The other thing is, if you don't like it, you can just give it away to a salty friend and LMNT will give you a 100% refund. No risk, money back guarantee. Head over to drinklmnt.com/Table Talk. What's going on, guys? We are back with another episode of Table Talk. You already heard some of the sponsors and the intros. Let me tell you a little bit about what's going on with Elite FTS right now, because we are in the holiday season and we're running the Better Than Black Friday deals. Those deals switched again this morning because that's what they do. They change frequently. And we started our annual equipment sale. So currently right now is the best time to buy strength equipment from Elite FTS out of the whole entire year. We only put this stuff on sale like this once a year. This annual equipment sale typically runs about a week. The other thing that we just got back in stock are the SS yoke bars. So those are on a Better Than Black Friday sale right now for $100 off each bar. And I want to put a shout out there because a lot of people have been waiting for the shoulder saver pads. They also came in, so they are restocked and they are on the site as well. So again, elitefts.com, discount code Table Talk will save 10% off your first order. Another sponsor that I want to shout out real quick, and I'm really not a sponsor, he's also a friend of mine, but Brian Carroll and Power Rack Strength CBD. I think the actual website is powerrackstrengthcbd.com. What I want to talk about here is Brian started messing around with this CBD crap, and I say that loosely because I've tried to take this CBD stuff for like 5 years and it's done absolutely nothing for me except for these gummy things that I found at some hippie hut somewhere in Columbus, which did work, which probably worked because it's got weed in it, but they don't say it's got weed in it. So I'm telling Brian the story because it's sleeping, like you get older, sleeping is like a bitch, right? Yeah. And he's like, well, look, I'm working on this stuff. So when he first started bringing the crap out, it was like in a bottle like this that was unmarked. And then there was this lube. And then there was something else. There's like 3 different things. And then every time he'd leave stuff, he'd come out here, he'd leave the stuff, and then people would all take it. Like 3 times they just all took it. I'm like, this is fucked up. Like, he's leaving. I'm supposed to be testing this stuff, and you keep like taking the shit. So then I swipe some of the drops here, and then, I take way over the recommended dose, but it does help. It helps me to fall asleep at night. So I want to give a shout out with that because he actually has a CBD that works. To be honest, I would sell it on the site if we could, but there's some federal bullshit with banks that
it's hard.
When we've tried to do this, we can't use our fucking merchant services. So go to powerrackstrengthcbd.com/Table Talk 2022 and you'll get 35% off all orders with no limit. I believe that's what it is. All the information is in the description. Check it out. He's also got the balm stuff, which I'll put on, and then I'll put my heat shit on over top of that, and then like 3 other liniments. So I can't give a real strong testimonial for that when I'm using 4 different liniments at the same time, but this shit helps me sleep. So I want to give a shout out to Brian for actually nailing that right and getting that done. My guest today is Tim and Michelle Ingram from
Hi.
Heavy Metal Fitness in San Antonio. We're going to talk, this is going to be a little bit different podcast because we're going to talk about a bunch of different stuff. We're going to talk about what it's like, training in a home gym and then aspiring to want to have a gym and then opening a gym without having a clue what you're doing and the pitfalls associated with that. One of the reasons why I wanted to have you guys out is because you have no bullshit, there's no filter with it. So, and I think that there's a lot of people, we already know there's a ton of people at home gyms now
Right.
than ever before.
Yeah.
And a lot of those people are probably thinking, hey, maybe I should start a gym, or maybe I've always wanted to start a gym, right? And so they're having the same thoughts that you had years ago. And so we can kind of walk through that a little bit, walk through what it's like to have a gym, walk through what it's like to run meets.
Yeah.
We had a real good discussion about that last night, which is interesting. Strongman shows, and seminars and clinics and stuff like that. So let's just start with, when did you start the gym? What year was that?
2000, we opened up in April of 2014. Before that, I was a personal trainer at a local gym. And I was starting to finally, after years of training there, build my clientele. People want to get into personal training. They think it's a good way to make money because they love to train so much and they like to exercise. But the truth of the fact is that if you want to jump into the personal training realm, it's a very slow process to start to snowball. And I started training maybe 3, 4, 5 years before we opened up Heavy Metal. Every single day, this is during the CrossFit kind of boom. Every single day, I'd be driving to work and I would see these CrossFit gyms popping up everywhere. And it had been a dream of mine to open up a gym since I was 19, 20 years old. And as I'm driving past these CrossFit gyms, I would think to myself, if they can open up a gym, I know I can open up a gym just by the nature of the fact that they're opening up a CrossFit gym. And I wouldn't do that because I'm too strategic with my training. And I built my clientele up to a point to where, I don't know, maybe 25, 30 people. It gave me the confidence to go out on my own. And we just took a chance in 2014. I, up to that point, had zero business experience outside of personal training. I didn't have any sort of classic education in business. I really had zero concept of what I was getting myself into, which in the long term was a good thing because it's been such a challenge that had I known what was in front of me at the time, I may not have taken that leap because I might have been intimidated to do it. But I was just so in love with training and strength and helping people that I did.
What is your educational background?
So growing up as a kid, I was terrible. I was bad, really bad. I dropped out of school, didn't go to school for a long time. Eventually, my friend was sick of me coming over to his house every day because I was acting like I was going to school. I was leaving my parents' house, acting like I was going to school, but really going to my friend's house, and I did that for the better part of a year. And he got so tired of me waking.
There's no calls home like in this whole time period?
No. I think everybody gave up, including my parents. They weren't asking for my report card, nothing. I mean, I was just one of those kids that, I hesitate to call myself bad. I never thought that I was a bad kid. However, I didn't want to listen to anybody, and I definitely didn't want to sit in the classroom all day. So didn't go to school for the better part of a year. My friend got sick of me coming over. He actually wasn't the best kid in the world either.
Well, I'm assuming he wasn't in school at the year, right?
So what happened was he had graduated from an alternative school.
Yeah.
And so he knew the principal well and took me over, introduced me to the principal of this alternative school, and I started going to school there. got my GED, the teachers there were maybe for the first time in my life, like, seemed to really care about me being something, you know? And so after I got the GED, they convinced me to stick around and try to get the diploma. And so I did, because I actually enjoyed this one particular school, got my diploma. And once that happened, I vowed that I was never going to go to school again. Like, I hated school. I had a real negative outlook on school. And the fact that I finished high school that was a victory in itself, you know? So I enlisted in the Air Force because I also couldn't stand living at my dad's house, you know, just the nature of two men in the same house. I enlisted in the Air Force, which was a short run, you know. I didn't last there much longer than a few months. Got out and really had no options outside of going to school and working. And so I went to...
So what do you mean going to school? So you get out of the Air Force, and where did you go to school?
So I just went to the local community college, which is called St. Philip's College in San Antonio, Texas. Go to St. Philip's, and I just kind of, you know, the truth is I just kind of floundered for years. From the age of maybe 19 to 29, I'm in this community college. It's
what were you studying while you were in there?
You know, I initially, for some reason, thought I wanted to be a history teacher. I don't know why. And that stopped, that all changed when we went on a field trip to watch a teacher teach at some local high school. And I realized I can't do this shit. There's just, you know, there's no way I'm standing in front of all these kids teaching history and shit. I don't even really care about history. My mother, believe it or not, has her master's degree in kinesiology.
Really?
Yeah. So she, once my parents divorced, she actually went back to school, got her kines degree. She's always been into fitness, training, lifting. My dad too, but my mom's maniacal about it. She goes back to school after my parents were divorced and gets her kines degree. Upon getting her kines degree, she starts teaching kinesiology at San Antonio College, which is another school locally. And I don't know, I just had the epiphany that, hey, I love to train. It's the one constant in my life that I truly do love. And my mom got this kines degree, so I thought to myself, well, I'll go for kinesiology.
Was she into fitness and training when you were younger?
Yes. Yeah.
So you were exposed to that as a child?
No doubt. So she would drag us to the gym with her all the time, and she taught aerobics classes. You know, in the 80s, aerobics was big. Yeah. And, you know, I can remember her making me get on her back so she could do her squats and calf raises off the stairs and shit. She was always into training.
Yeah. Okay. And you were then too?
I got into training. My mom kicked me out of the house when I was in 7th or 8th grade to go live with my dad. My dad was stationed in Germany at the time, in the Army. And on Friday, she told me I was going to go move to Germany on Monday. So I go to Germany to live with my pops, and you know, I'm in this country, no friends, no nothing. But my pops has you know, a little weight set in the attic. In that summer, because I had no friends, I didn't know where to go. That's all I did. That entire summer is lift weights, and that kind of I think that was the genesis, at least for me, seeing myself get more muscular, get stronger. That was kind of what got me addicted to lifting. I was always athletic, always loved sports. I loved being physical. I felt like I was strong amongst my friends without the training, so I think I don't know, I was naturally attracted to strength innately. But that was my first, the summer of 8th grade was my first time seriously pushing myself with weights. Yeah.
And how do you think that changed? You know, were you in sports at the time?
No.
And then when you came back to the States, were you in sports?
I didn't go to school, basically.
Okay. So after that, you were basically
yeah. So
done.
like, no, I envied the kids that got into sports because it gave them structure. Yeah. And it gave them something to work for, and they couldn't fuck up or else they were off the team. Yeah. So even though I was super athletic and the coaches often wanted me to come out for sports, I was on a different path, and I hung with a different crowd.
Yeah.
And
so at what point did that change? So at some point you decided, look, I don't want to do this shit no more, and you started becoming a trainer. So what created that change?
So not much changed for a long time. With the real change, as crazy as it sounds, is I turned 29 years old, and I realized from the age of 19 to 29, not one thing had changed in my life. I hadn't accomplished anything. Nothing. I smoked a lot of weed. I drank a lot of 40s for 10 years. Now during those 10 years, I always trained. Like training, being strong to me is just in my cells, and it's just something I'm going to do. I'll do it with a 40 in my hand. Like I'm gonna train. And it got to the point, I think, where I started separating myself, not from my friends, because those same friends are still my friends today. I just prioritize different things. What I think where the separation occurred is I wasn't going to miss training, whereas they didn't train. So they could stay out, smoke, drink. Eventually they got into worse things than that. But I was going to go to the gym because I wasn't going to miss. Yeah.
So did you start to see that those things are screwing up your training? Like it's hard to train hard if you've been drunk all freaking night.
Man, I as crazy as it sounds, I know. I would walk up to Gold's Gym or whatever and flick my fucking cigarette or black 'em out or whatever it was as I was walking in the door. Like my intensity, like now granted, now that I really know what strength is because I'm around so many strong people, maybe it did stunt my strength, because at that point I am the strongest person in my little crowd. So I feel like a goddamn monster.
Yeah.
But now I've been exposed to like really, really, really strong people. So in hindsight, I'm sure drinking, smoking, not eating, whatever the case, staying up all night hindered my training. But I was such an intense lifter that I never had really a bad workout because the intensity carried me through. And my bar for what was strong wasn't like your bar. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like the strongest dude at the time that I trained with, now he was strong, but he probably had like a 455, 465 bench, which to me was astronomical. It still is a really good bench, but it wasn't kind of like the strength standard you're used to.
Yeah.
So as long as I was within any sort of, level of this guy, I felt like I was doing well.
You still you didn't just roll out of bed at 29 years old and realize, look, I'm going to quit doing this shit. I need to change.
I kind of did.
That's what it's.
It's a trip. I'm not playing. Even with school, like, it's funny. My university is really proud of me. They've given me awards out the ass. I've gotten this distinguished alumni award, which is kind of like an award they give to one person post-graduation that's killing it in the community. I've gotten that award. While I was in school, I got the Kinesiology Student of the Year award, the one student out the year that represents the university. I've gotten awards for anatomy and physiology, having the best grade out of every student there. But check this out. I swear on my life, my success in school all happened just like that. Like literally as I'm walking through the parking lot going to class. My entire life, since I can remember, 4, 5, 6 years old, whenever you start going to school, I did not like school. I don't know what it is. I think it's being handcuffed to somebody telling you what to do. That's the only thing I can assume. From the age of 5 years old to the age of whatever it was, 29 years old, I had this just really negative outlook on what school was. I didn't want any parts of it. I thought it was a necessary evil to do anything in this world. One day I'm walking through this parking lot and I just start thinking about what actually I'm going to do that day. I'm going to walk into this classroom amongst tons of friends. At this point, I'm cool with everybody in the class. We have a real tight-knit group. It's a small university. We're all cool. We have a blast in class. So I think to myself, why do you hate school so much? You're about to go hang out with some of your closest friends. You're about to go learn about something you truly want to learn about. You have the best grade in the class. What is there to hate? I'm thinking all this to myself as I'm walking into class. I decide I don't hate school. Like, this is actually pretty fun. After that moment, I never made a B again. Not a B on a paper, not a B on a test. I only made A's. And it was a split-second decision to stop thinking about school in a negative light and start accepting that this is actually a good thing that's helping you become a better person. I changed in that millisecond. And not that it's easy to do. Like, it was like a profound moment in my life, but I really think it's that easy to change. It's just a mindset. Like, you know, your perception is your reality.
Of course.
It's an overused quote, but it's the truest of all quotes, in my opinion.
So from that, then how long did it take until, so your first job was the personal trainer thing?
Not my first job. First job in the industry. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
And was that what you expected it to be? Or you didn't know?
No. I really struggled as a personal trainer initially. First off, I didn't have a client for months, not one. Luckily, I was bouncing at the time. I worked a maintenance job at night at the time. I was scraping together a little bit of money to make it, but I didn't have a client for months.
Now, were you being paid as a fitness instructor while you were doing that?
No.
So it was just all 100% commission?
Yeah. It was just, you were an independent contractor.
Yeah.
So I got nothing from that job for the first 3 months.
How did you get how'd you get your first client?
I don't know. Like, so they had...
They have a board. They had a board there that had like all the trainers' faces. And his was just on there. And you could go pick your, people come in. It was kind of like
for like months, people were like, not that dude.
Well, at this spot, and at the time, I'm a lot bigger than I was now. Like, I was a pretty big dude. I probably scared the shit out of them because this was.
When you say big, like what kind of body weight are we talking about?
260.
Okay, yeah, so fucking big.
I'm 210 right now.
Yeah, so jacked.
Yeah. I drank milk, a half gallon of milk every day. Like, I was on the shit you preached. You know what I mean? I thought at the time I had to be as big as possible to be as strong as possible.
Yeah.
And so that's how I lived my life. So yeah, in this place, which was almost more of a community center, I'm sure I intimidated people.
Yeah.
And I didn't, nobody picked me.
When did you figure out, nobody picked you. When did you figure out how to build your clientele?
I never.
It didn't really.
Well, I mean, at some point you ended up with 20,
Yes.
what do you say, 20-something?
This is what happened.
Yeah.
It wasn't me selling myself or marketing myself. I marketed myself through good training. Like, I swear to God, I think that's all I can attribute it to. When I got that one client, and to this day, maybe the worst client I've ever had. It was a bad stroke of luck. This guy he was a 35-year-old, but no, he was a 10-year-old in a 35-year-old's body. I mean, this dude was unbelievable. I mean, he would slam Gatorade bottles, and he would show up 30 minutes late, 45 minutes late. The session's an hour. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
His wife made him come. He was just a big-ass kid. However, he was my single client, and I wanted to do everything I could for this guy. And I wanted to put my best foot forward. At the time, I'm bouncing. I'm basically a janitor. The fact that somebody's paying me to help them train is mind-boggling to me. And I take it to this. I don't know if anything's changed. I really appreciate the fact that somebody pays me for their time to train. Like, I think that's a real luxury in our industry. Like, I don't take that lightly. But at the time, it was unbelievable. So I would bring my prowler to the gym. I made this dude's training as special as I could. And I think over time, people started to see how engaged I was with him, how thoughtful I was with his exercise selection. I was dragging shit from my garage to their gym because I felt like it would enhance his training.
And he was showing up enough to get results?
Even if it was just 20 minutes.
Yeah.
We would.
But consistently, he still would just show up late consistently.
Because his wife would make him.
Okay.
But
that's enough to help him, though.
Yeah. But, you know, after a couple months of training this guy, maybe 2 or 3 months, you know, I got one more.
Yeah.
And once I got 3, then it started to snowball. Because then I was in the gym long enough for people to truly meet me, know me, see me.
So you never consciously try to figure out how to get referrals?
No. No, and it sounds like when I told you yesterday, we had dinner yesterday, Michelle and I's journey, the last 9 years, the last 16, however long I've been.
Longer than the gym.
Yeah. Well, I'm seeing a segue now into bringing her into the conversation, right? Because there was a balance that had to be made. At what point during this story did you meet Tim?
I met Tim when we were young, like at a party. And it was just over time, I would see him again 2 years later at another party. I'd see him at the club. You know, he had his relationship. I had my relationships. We would just meet up and see each other randomly. But I remember him, you know, going to school, but not really taking it serious. And we were, at that point,
you mean in high school?
No,
okay,
this is college.
College. I got
we're
it.
both going to the same community college.
Gotcha. Okay.
And I just remember, you know, I always had a job, 1 or 2 jobs, you know, and I was in school, you know, just trying to make it as well. But I just remember we started dating seriously, and then we started moving in together. And that's right when the whole grind started. You know, he was bouncing. I knew he was bouncing at the club. Everyone knew that the big guy at the front door would study while he took IDs. Like, that was what he was known for. He'd have his big old anatomy book. Yeah. And his dad is a doctor and had a practice, and he was cleaning the toilets on weekends. And so then I started helping him do that. And then he did his internship with school. He's a senior and he's killing it. He's making great grades. And then they hired him on, and I mean, it was just like it's kind of like a blur, but it was just like a grind that we were on together, you know? And I knew the moment that I met Tim, or the moment I saw him train, I'd never seen anything like that in my life, ever.
What do you mean?
Workout, the way he worked out in the garage. He had a garage gym. I'd never seen anything that intense. I'd never seen anybody that focused. I never had seen somebody that it didn't matter. Like, I think I told you that it didn't matter if it was Christmas Day, if it was Thanksgiving. If he was training that day, he was training that day. And whatever we had planned, or I thought we had planned, was going to wait until that training session. Like, he's just so dedicated. That's the one thing that brings him so much joy, and that he loves, is working out. And so I learned right away, like, that's his thing. If it's going to be 3 hours in the garage, it's 3 hours in the garage. You know, whatever he's going to do, he's going to do it. But that's when I realized, like, okay, so he really has a passion for this. And that's, I think, what's carried over and helped him, obviously, all the way till now, is his passion for helping people in training, and making them the best version of themselves that they can be in whatever it is that they're doing. But at the time, I was working for the Spurs basketball team. He was like, hey, I want to have, you know, my own private, you know, studio, because he could only take them so far in that little, like, kind of like a mini YMCA type of a place. They didn't have much equipment. So in his mind, you know, I want chains, I want bands, I want the SSB, I want all of that for my clients. So let's find a place.
And what did you think at first?
I was
he's probably not making a whole hell of a lot of money balancing.
No. I just thought, well, you know what, like, I'm going to be there for him. I'm going to help him however it is. You know, whatever my role is going to be, that's what my role is going to be. I don't know it yet, but the good thing is, you know, I'm the people person. I'm the person that's outgoing. I mean, he's more of an introvert. So I knew that I was going to do everything in my power to get him clients. Yeah. And that's in the early days as well. That's when we first started heavy metal in our first building. Every person that I came across that I thought could even afford to train, I was telling them about Tim.
Well, how does this conversation go to where you're just saying that someday I want to have this gym to, okay, now we're going to start looking for a place? And then how much money was saved when you did that? I mean, how do we get there?
Yeah. All right. So, first off, let me go back to one of your initial questions.
Yeah.
When did it change?
Yeah.
Michelle, like, my life changed when I got with her. It's that simple. The reason we're married now is because I thought to myself, what was my life like before I got with Michelle versus what's my life been like since I've been with Michelle? And I compared those two different lives. Only good things have happened for me since I've been with Michelle. Everything from graduating school to getting my first personal training job, to opening up the gym, to the gym being successful, to having children. It's only because she's been in my corner. And nothing I've done is gonna, I don't think comes to fruition without her. And not just because of the support, which I think is understated for a lot of successful people. Like, you gotta be around somebody that supports you. But her work ethic, at the time when we first started dating and hanging out and messing around, I'm not doing fucking much. You know what I'm saying? Like, what she sees in me, I have no idea, because there's not a lot going on. You know what I'm saying? However, she's busting her ass. She's up at 6 a.m. working at a fucking Mexican restaurant, and then after that going to the Cadillac dealership. You know what I'm saying? Meanwhile, I'm fucking rolling out of bed, and, you know, over the course of a couple months, you start to feel like shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, this poor girl that loves you so much is out here working her ass off, and you damn can't get out of bed till 11 o'clock in the morning. You know what I'm saying? So part of me wanting to change is because I was with somebody so beautiful, so lively, so energetic, and so positive, just in my ear all the time, proud of me for God knows what. But her positivity infected me in some capacity and made me want to be better. You know, I don't give a fuck what type of degree you have, or how much money you have, or you can't replace somebody that truly, truly, truly supports you and truly wants the best for you. There's already so many people that don't. If you can align yourself with somebody that really wants the best for you, you're blessed. And I was blessed in that capacity.
So, at what point are you guys talking about, let's look for a place?
Shit, man, it's been so long now. I would say once my clientele got up to over 20-something people, I realized, and then seeing all these CrossFit gyms open up, I'm realizing I can do this. I have the clientele. I think these people would support me. Michelle's making great money. It doesn't have to be anything big. Now, keep in mind, our initial plan for heavy metal wasn't to be a gym. I had no thoughts of it being a gym
where members can come in.
Where people can come train on their own time.
Just a training studio.
I'm just thinking training studio. I know I can train people well, and if I have the equipment that I find most effective, I can train them really well. So,
and everything will be our profits. It won't be at the place anymore. They'll all follow. Or whatever.
And you're not talking a whole lot of equipment. Some of it you probably already had in your garage anyhow.
Yeah, I over the years, I don't know how much I've purchased from Elite Fitness, but whenever I had a little bit of money, I was on your site getting something that would enhance my training. However, how I trained, I felt like could be a great stimulus for somebody else as well. Even if the ability level wasn't my ability level, it was still the optimal way to train, I felt that. So it wasn't so much, I always dreamed of opening up a gym, but I think it was the fact that I was actually seeing success as a trainer. The small gym was starting to become a thing. I had clientele that literally were telling me to do it. They wanted me to open up this place. They wanted to train more in the style that I wish I could.
So you knew you were going to get some of the people to go.
No doubt.
With you.
Oh, no doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt.
And then we knew we were just going to have to grind to get more.
Yeah.
You know, so we just started driving around looking for little office buildings, you know, to kind of.
We don't know shit about commercial real estate. We don't know the difference between commercial and industrial. We don't have an agent. We're just driving around, and if we see a sign that says for lease, we call the sign.
Yeah. And then how did that lead into the place that you started in?
We just called. We called one night, and a little old man met us there at the front door. He owned the whole strip center. He opened the door, and we just, I mean, even then we thought, like, there's no way. There's no way it was 2,000 square feet. And we were just like, how are we going to fill this place? How are we going to do this?
And
you know?
I think at the time he was asking for like $3,500 a month, which for us was, you know, I'm hoping we could stay under $1,000.
Yeah.
You know, that was my plan. It was unrealistic because I just didn't know any better. But $3,000 to me was astronomical.
We saw the vision, like we saw, you know, we in our minds, like what this could become, you know, and he just gave us a shot. We just told him we liked it, and he literally didn't ask us for anything. He just gave us the keys, put a fresh paint, you know, on the walls, and that was heavy metal, you know.
All right, so then you move your stuff out of the garage into there. Then what? What happens next?
All right, so we place an order. We placed an order with you. For us, it was a huge order.
Yeah.
It was, you know, looking back on it, wasn't that big. I'm sure not big in comparison to some of your orders, but for us, I spent every single penny I had on this equipment, on the sign, on like when I opened up the door for Heavy Metal's grand opening, I didn't have $1. And I'm not exaggerating. I had 3,000.
And you were cool with this?
Yeah.
We didn't know any better, Dave. We didn't know any better.
She still got a job, right?
I have
so
a
there's
job.
still income. So there's still money
I'm
coming
providing
in.
for us. We don't have kids.
Yeah.
You know.
Yes.
But you got to be wondering, if there's no clients, now you're going to have to pay for rent.
Right. So we were thinking, like, how are we going to pay our first rent?
Yeah.
And then if we're going to be truthful about it, one of his clients, who is very wealthy, and we're still so cool with him right now. He's got a good job. He's just a good guy. I remember he paid for like
20 sessions,
30, 40
that's
sessions.
a huge help at that point.
Up front.
I mean, it kind of paid our rent for us.
It paid our rent.
Yeah.
And we were like, whoa.
So Michelle's still working. So we have her income, which is good income.
Yeah.
I'm training people. So I have my little bit of an income, you know. It's not $3,000, but it's something.
So he's still at the place training the clients, and now we've got Heavy Metal. So he's
Did they know that?
No.
Okay. I was gonna say.
Well, I didn't want to.
No, I get it.
How do I say this? I didn't want to try to steal their members, their clients. So I went back and forth.
I got it. Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I'm still bouncing. And we might still be cleaning the office too.
Yeah, we were still cleaning toilets.
We're doing all this while we own Heavy Metal.
And then now I'm starting to tell some of my friends, and then we got Big Mike, and that's one of the first clients that came over to Heavy Metal that was, you know, just a friend of mine, you know, a guy, business colleague that I knew.
We didn't turn down an opportunity to earn, whether it was through training or doing another job or whatever. In my mind, now that we're up and running, and what I've dreamed of is really here. I'm not losing this. I'm not gonna fail. I still have the same mentality, because if I don't have Heavy Metal, I don't have shit. So, you know, failing isn't an option for me. We're doing whatever we need to do to keep paying this rent and, you know, pay for the bills at the house. And it wasn't an explosion of success. We made $3,000, or I made $3,000 through training and through the generosity of that client of mine, Richard. We made $3,000 that first month, which was what our rent was. That was a success. We fucking did it. The next month, I think we made $3,000, $3,100. We made an extra $100. The next month, maybe $3,150. Like, it was just literally very
And thankfully, our
incremental.
electricity was included in the rent.
Yeah.
And our water. So we just had
Flat
$3,000
cost.
to
Yeah,
pay.
so you knew what that was.
Right. You know, we had a phone and, you know, internet at the time. But I don't know if we're jumping too far ahead, but after we're buying power racks, elite power racks, which nobody has anywhere in the whole city at this point. The Pit Shark, the bamboo bar,
The specialty bars.
the specialty
period.
bars. We have actual, power bars in the gym, deadlift bar, a deadlift platform. There's we have a chalk bowl, right? Which nobody has a chalk bowl.
No, I get it. It's funny though.
At all at this point.
Yeah.
We have chalk. And so you guys reach out and say, hey, we do these little stories on gyms, elite fitness, gym stories. And we're like, cool. So you guys come down or we take pictures for you guys. You write an article and literally the phone rang. And I think it was Jim, one of our longtime members at the time, but there was a little powerlifting crew of guys, crazy guys in the military that would work out in base, but they would get in trouble and kicked out all the time. So the phone rings and it's Jim and he's like, is this place open? That was one of our first members who saw us on the Elite Fitness article and drove a whole crew of these crazy guys to the gym. And that was the first time we had ever even had powerlifters in our gym or lifters in our gym.
Up until that point, we don't know what to do. We're in a position to where, okay, we need to start earning more money, but how do we even do it? Like, I'm sitting here, the doors are open, nobody's walking in, and we don't know any better. We're so clueless. We thought once we put the sign up, people would walk in when they saw the sign. It didn't work out that way. Like it was for sure a scary time. However, you guys did an article on us in the gym. For whatever reason, I have no idea why you did it. Because up to this point, I'm not a proven gym owner. I'm not a proven lifter. I'm a very strong kid, but nobody knows because I don't compete. I'm just a guy you guys helped out and I'll always be indebted for that. That article that came out on the Elite Fitness website was seen by people in the community, right? Next thing you know, Jim, who Michelle just referenced, brings his crew down. This other kid, still a good friend of ours, Cody, comes down. Fernando
Another
comes
guy,
down.
Fernando.
We start meeting these actual power lifters. Now,
Or strength. They're just strength. Like, they're obsessed with strength.
Just meatheads.
Yeah.
Well, Jim and them were actual power lifters.
Meatheads, yeah.
Which kind of put us in the scene. I'm oblivious to this scene. My view on powerlifting is West Side DVDs and videotapes and whatever strength compilation I could see on YouTube. I'm just thinking, and of course, World's Strongest Man was always an inspiration for me. But I'm thinking, to be a powerlifter, you need to be squatting 1,000 pounds, deadlifting 800 pounds, bench pressing 600 pounds. I'm thinking powerlifting isn't even a thing for normal people. So these guys come in, and I'm training with them. They're great guys, and they think I'm strong. And they ask me, like, yo, do you compete? Like, where do you compete at? Blah, blah, blah. And I don't, And I told them I didn't think I was strong enough to compete. And they're like, bro, you're pretty fucking strong. He was like, yo, come to this meet. We compete in 4 weeks. Come to this meet, USPA meet. Check it out. If you've never been to a meet, come check it out. And so that was our first experience going to
We had never even knew what met a power lifter in the city.
Yeah, which I know for people listening in the local area probably blows their mind, because now heavy metal is known for producing some of the best athletes, not just in the state, but in the nation. And we're a very competitive gym. 1 out of every 2 people competes in something at our gym. But it didn't start that way. Like, I got introduced to powerlifting after I opened up the gym. So we go to this meet, and I was shocked. I was shocked that most competitors were of pretty, I felt, mediocre strength. You know what I mean?
The story kind of makes me laugh when you tell it, right? Because most people have the opposite effect. It's like they go and like, oh my God, I can't believe how strong everybody was. Because they come from different backgrounds and stuff like that. This is crazy to me. You just thought you had to squat 1,000.
Yeah.
You just had to pull 8, or there's no point competing.
Well, those are the videos he watched.
Well, I know that's crazy, though.
I only saw that, I knew who Chuck Vogelpool and and Louis were based on the.
Then you go to a meet and you realize, half the meet's probably squatting under 405.
And there's weight classes. And there's age.
It really tripped me out. At the
groups.
time, I'm deadlifting around 700 pounds.
Yeah.
And I think the top deadlift that day was like 715 or some shit. And I was like, I didn't even think I was strong enough to compete, let alone damn near win the meet. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So they convinced me to do a meet. I'm going to be honest. The meet itself was cool. It was fun. The training for the meet was horrible for me.
Yeah.
Like I didn't like the rigidness of having to only concentrate on those 3 lifts. Like, to me, that fucking sucked. I love to do stones, farmer's walks. I love jumping, plyometrics and shit.
You like and we'll talk about training as we get through your story, but you like very high work capacity work, which works against you in that sport.
I was dying. I couldn't wait for that fucking meet to be over with.
Yeah.
And that was all, to be fair, that was the first time I let somebody else, Gene Bell, we spoke about Gene yesterday.
Yeah.
I let Gene coach me through that meet. One of the best powerlifters of all time, and definitely knows what he's doing. But his style of training is very old school work. You know what I mean? It's tried and true, and it works. But for me, it was just like, I don't know if I have ADHD when it comes to training or what, but it was just too rigid. And I realized I didn't like the process of training for a meet. I just like to train. You know what I mean? And the competition was cool, but it wasn't so fucking cool that I needed to do it again. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like how some people, they shoot guns and they think it's the most exhilarating thing.
Yeah.
Like, to me, I shot a gun and I thought, fucking, all right, you know what I mean? That's kind of how powerlifting was for me. It was like, all right, you know what I mean? However, I appreciate the people that are in love with the sport, because to me, I just love strength. And whether it's powerlifting, arm wrestling, running the 100-meter dash, the power that takes, I love power and strength. So powerlifting falls in that realm, obviously. You know?
So with the business, you just kind of jumped in and figured out. You just figure it out as you go.
Yeah, that's kind of that kind. And I would never recommend anybody do it.
Why?
Well, you're right. I shouldn't have said that, because I don't think you can anticipate a lot of what happens.
You can't.
You can't. Yeah, and I think you'll never know how it's going to go unless you just jump in.
Yeah.
I think being naive helped us big time. Had I had this big grand strategy, I pulled out my business plan. I don't know how I found it. Maybe 2 or 3 years ago, it was in the office. And my business plan was on one sheet of paper, and I read through it, and it was just like the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. Like, what I thought I was going to do wasn't even in the same realm of what we wound up doing. As simple as keeping the rent under $900 or some shit like that.
Yeah.
Our initial rent was $3,000,
Well, the question becomes, at what point are you ready? Like, if you're going to just keep acquiring business knowledge and you're going to learn this, you're going to learn this, at what point do you know enough? I mean, you've been in business long enough now to know, there's probably some low-hanging fruit that you could have learned and known a little bit better. But that's not the shit that's knocked you on your butt as you've had the business over the years. It's nothing that you could have prepared for.
Yeah.
It's just like, whoa, what was that? And then you'll ask somebody else, like, dude, I have no idea what, you're going to have to figure that out.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of how the real world works.
And it's so true. People want to give you advice about what you should do, or have you thought about doing this or doing that? And you want to listen and you want to heed their advice. However, if you've never owned a business, then the unpredictability of it, the pressures of it, the stress of it, you have a kinship with other business owners, and particularly for me, other gym owners. I'll never hate on another gym. I'll never talk shit about another gym. It's such a cutthroat, such a cutthroat industry to survive in, I listen to people and I do take advice. However, we've gotten this far by really, using common sense more than anything, and living and learning, and really almost releasing the restraints of trying to control everything. We do our best to control what we can, but I also accept the fact that not everything's under my control, and whatever happens, I'm gonna handle that when it happens. Because if I try to predict too much shit for the future, it stresses me out. I get anxious about it, and I feel like it takes away from my energy. So I try to focus on the present the best I can.
Yeah. So when he's in the gym training people all the time, and that's where his passion is, then you have to step up and try to get people in the door, right?
Right. I'm working Spurs games. I'm at heavy metal, cleaning, scrubbing toilets, vacuuming the turf. I don't even know. We starting an Instagram page, starting our Facebook page, learning how to post. We didn't know any of that. He didn't even have a Facebook when we started heavy metal, and just how to make T-shirts. That was one thing for us. Next door to us was vacant, and all of a sudden this man moves in, and he has this. I think it was like a $50,000 machine. I don't know, but it's digital. It's a digital printing machine, and so you could take a picture. It was like one of those where he could charge $30 a shirt because you can get it right then and there. Whatever you want goes on there. It takes 5 minutes to print, and that's your shirt. So that was the first time we even had a heavy metal. We went to Walmart, grabbed some blank Hanes T-shirts, or even took shirts that we had at the house and just asked him to put our logo on it. And so, and we gave him business, and he helped us, and so that was kind of like it started to become a brand. It started to become a thing, and then the logo, and then people liked the logo, and so then they wanted more logos, and then we would get invited to a powerlifting meet, so we'd all want to wear the logo, so then we'd print the shirts for that, and then over time it was like, well, that's the place that's new in San Antonio that you can be who you are. Like, you can be the lifter that you want to be. You can use chalk and grind out and yell and curse and just be who you want to be without the restrictions like at a Gold's Gym, for instance. So we just kind of started over time putting ourselves in these powerlifting meets, in these events, and then as we started to meet more people at these events, they wanted to come be members at the gym. So then we started to figure out, okay, what are we going to charge these people to come be members at our gym? And then we had a lot of veterans. So then we said, okay, let's give veterans discounts, and so it's just, it's literally been like a building process.
It wasn't a gym. I told you that when we opened up, it was just to train clients. So when that initial crew of powerlifters came through and they wanted to train at 2:00, I thought to myself, well, I'll be here, come through. You know what I mean? But then they wanted to come so often, I thought, well, shit, maybe we should have like an open gym time. Maybe from 4 to 9 is open gym. But then maybe they couldn't make it at 4. So then I thought, all right, well, let's create a membership.
Yeah.
And let's let people come. Like, it just all happened organically. It was never, even the fact that powerlifters, strongmen, athletes, all these great athletes have come from our gym. Heavy metal wasn't created to be a powerlifting gym or a strongman gym. It was just a badass place to train. And like how she was saying, like me, if I was at Gold's, I stopped training at Gold's and places like that 15 years ago because I was too intense to train in a place like that. And I felt too self-conscious to train my best because everybody was staring at me. And I'd be in the garage going ape shit, thinking to myself, I wonder how many other people are in their garage just like me that wish they had a sick-ass place to train with badass equipment and they could really, train, yeah. So that was another reasoning behind taking that leap, because although I didn't know anybody, I was by myself. I didn't have any training partners in the garage, at least. I knew I couldn't be the only one wanting to be as strong as possible, and you just can't do it at a commercial gym.
Yeah.
You just can't.
Well, part of having a small business is being paranoid that you're going to go out of business, and that's kind of like it never goes away.
Yeah.
So we'll
Right.
just put that out there so everybody understands that. But there's also a certain point in time where the reality hits, like, okay, I'm not going to go out of business this month.
Right.
Or next month.
Yeah.
You know, maybe 3 months from now, but not this month. Or do you remember when you first had that?
Oh yeah.
Hit? When was that?
The first damn 3 years.
No, I'm saying the time where you're like, you know what, we're not going to go out of business in the next few months. Not the, because the other never goes away.
Word. So, unfortunately for us, that was very short-lived. We feel that way now.
Yeah.
But that it'll probably change here in the next year or two.
Of course it will.
Because right when I start making decent money, we're about 3 years in. However, now we're out of space, right? Mm-hmm. And the landlord, he's paying our utilities, he's paying our water. It's inclusive in the rent. But he doesn't like us because we have the bay door open all day. So who knows what that electricity bill is. Mm-hmm. So he says we got to be out on this date. The space I'm in now was double the rent of the space I left. Mm-hmm. So although I was making money upon that third year, now I just doubled my rent and my utilities. So I'm right back to square one. Mm-hmm. So.
Well, kinda. Because you know more.
I know more.
And we actually have members.
We actually
and
have
clients,
members.
Yeah.
It's
couple
just
of trainers now.
It's just our overhead doubled. So things are tight. And it's been what, 4 years since we've been at this spot, maybe going on 5.
2017, 18.
So we have climbed out of that hole. We're doing really well, but now my lease is up again, and I know overhead's going to go up again.
Yeah.
Because we gotta get more space. So it's like a never-ending.
It never stops. You know what I'm saying? So, but there is a point where you're like, it's not like the next 4 weeks paranoia.
Word, nah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I think when we get people that ask us about opening a gym and, you know, what's the key, you know, to having a successful gym, I think what I like to tell people is like pull apart all the equipment, pull apart space. It's how you treat people and how you respecting them, and customer service. For us, I feel like that's where it all started. You know, people coming in and meeting Tim and I and seeing, you know, us, you know, seeing me scrubbing toilets and changing out paper towel rolls and answering the phone and, you know, sweeping the leaves off the front porch every day. Like, those are things that we still do now, you know, and a lot of people, you know, they wonder what it takes, and like if we're going to give them like this secret, you know, answer, and there is no secret answer. You know, it's just every day you're doing everything in your power to make sure that your, you know, product, whatever it is you're going into business for, that you're giving it your all and you're giving it your best. And I think that it kind of shocks people, or they don't realize the amount of work it takes. I know so many people. We knew a guy that opened up a bar, and he doesn't have it anymore. And I remember asking like his sister, like, what happened? And she's like, well, because he didn't want to have to clean it anymore. And he didn't realize, like, he just saw this like, oh, I'm going to be a bar owner, and it's like a, you know, a fun, magical place to have, and I'm going to be an owner, and like, you know, you're just going to stand back and drink all day. I don't know what he thought, but at the end of the day, having a business, I mean, you're every day working towards your business, you know, doesn't matter how big it gets, you're still going to make sure that your business is thriving and that you're still hustling every day to make it better. And a lot of people don't understand that it takes that. It takes that every single day. There's no day off. There's no time off. I mean, as much as we try to have time off, you know, we're always looking for, you know, to make the next t-shirt, or what can we get, you know, okay, we need to check the bands. We need new bands. It's time, you know, Lead has a sale. Let's get on that. And, you know, we're always striving to be the best that we can in whatever it is it may be, that we need to make sure that the gym is always good for people and members, because they see and appreciate that. And then that just brings more people in, you know, they want to be.
No, I agree. I think most people underestimate the amount of work it takes.
Yeah.
Vastly.
Yeah.
Vastly. And it could be because they come from a job that's 40 hours a week or whatever it's going to be. And it's like, dude, that's not even close to the minimum of what you're going to do.
Right.
I mean, that's like a vacation week.
For sure.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe, it's always, but it is. And then that's not counting the time it's on your mind.
Right.
So say you are someplace else, but you're still checking your email. You're still looking at the cameras of the gym.
Right.
You're still answering, you're still working.
For sure.
Pretty much all the time.
Yeah.
It never ends.
But perception, going back to what you said earlier, perception's what changes that, right? Because it's this, in my experience, it's like a cycle of hell, right? Where if you let all that just dig into you too much, then you start wondering, like, why in the fuck am I doing this?
Yep.
It's true.
Like, why is this still there? But then you have to find that perception change, where you said you're grateful that people are willing to pay you just to be able to train.
Word.
You got to find something. You got to find that base, and it better be strong, and it better be passionate, and it better be strong and passionate enough to be able to overcome way more than what people think they need to overcome.
Right.
Passion. I used to tell people, what they would ask me, what's it take to run a successful gym or whatever, and passion would typically be the first thing I thought about, because without that passion, you're not going to put in the hours. You're just not going to do it. You know what I mean? However, it takes hard work. Like that's not enough. Yeah. I don't care what anybody tells you. It's just like anything else in life. If you want to put forth a great product and be profitable, you are going to have to work. It's just that simple. For the first 4 years, I lived in that gym. I've only now separated myself because I have two young children, and I want to help Michelle as much as I can with the kids, and I want to be there with them. But up until that point, I was in the gym from morning to close, and I don't sit still. There's never a downtime. If I'm not training, if I'm not working, I'm gonna find something that needs to be done, because there's always something that needs to be done. If you're gonna open up a gym, you have got to understand you will not make money unless you work really hard.
Well, the thing with, as you just said, if there's always something that needs to be done.
Yes, sir.
Right? If you don't do it, who will?
Yeah.
It won't get done.
Yeah.
That's the question I don't think people really put their mind to very much. Or if, to back that up, if you have other people to do it and they don't do it, who's the backup?
Yeah.
You're still the backup.
Yeah.
So, and that doesn't.
And even something as simple as finding the person that will do it, like finding good help for us was one of those big giant obstacles that I didn't anticipate. I'm thinking I'm going to open up this training studio. I'm going to hire 2 or 3 trainers to work alongside of me. I'm going to charge them a rent. Man, shit, let me tell you something. I'm serious, man. Like, we're almost 10 years in. 10 years. And I just now have a staff that I feel really happy about and confident in. It took a long time. I worked by myself for the first 3 years. The business was too important for me to leave it in the hands of somebody that didn't care. I could not bring myself to hire somebody I didn't know. I had to get to know them. The hiring process for us has been really slow because I don't care about your resume, really. I just don't. I got to know who you are as a person. Is your character going to be up to par with our character? Do you live this life the way I live this life, the way my wife lives this life? The couple times I've broken my own rules and allowed somebody to come in, maybe because the demand for personal training was so high, we needed more trainers to, capitalize on those opportunities. Every time I let somebody in that I don't know, it doesn't really work out. And that's unfortunate. That sucks, man. That sucks because we would love to help, but you get burned so many times that now I've kind of stumbled across this successful avenue for all those aspiring gym owners. I've had the pleasure and the privilege to coach so many people since I've had the gym. A responsibility I didn't really want initially, but over time I've gotten this reputation of being a good coach. What I've learned to do in time, believe it or not, is those same people, especially the ones I've coached the longest, I give them the opportunity to become coaches and personal trainers. And because they've been under me for 3, 4, or 5 years, I can trust the style in which they're going to train that person. You understand what I'm saying? And the style in which they're going to train that person is going to maximize the use of the gym, everything we have. Because most people come in there and they don't know how to do shit outside of squat, bench, and deadlift. And that's all they're going to do. And to me, that's tragic when you're in a place like this. Our gym is like a mini elite fitness. So luckily, I would say we have stumbled upon the success of hiring our athletes as coaches because they know us intimately. They know the training style. That's really the only training style they know. I know it's going to be safe. I know it's going to be thoughtful. They're loyal. However, you can't do that day one. That was years in the making. That was something that happened organically, and we were putting the pieces in place to do. But that's the route we've chosen as of late. Like if you walk in heavy metal and you have your resume, I'm gonna listen to you. I'm gonna talk to you. More importantly, I'm gonna read in between the lines to see if you maintain eye contact. Do you have people skills? How professional are you? Like I'm more into that type of shit, to be honest. But the truth of the fact is hiring good help is one of the biggest challenges we have faced as business owners.
What are some of the other ones?
Maintaining a culture of positivity. We spoke about it a little bit earlier. Just for whatever reason, you're not in control of who walks in the door, right? Like when you open up a business, bro, anybody can walk in there and be interested in the gym. So you're going to meet some of the best people on planet Earth, some of the most generous and thoughtful and selfless. But on the other end of the spectrum, you're going to meet some bad people, some people that are cancerous, some people that don't want your success, don't want anybody else's success. Some people that are legit crazy. Like I've met some people where I can look in their eyes and I think they've killed some people. They got somebody in the closet right now and shit. You know what I mean? So managing everything mankind has to offer, from this personality to this personality, is a real challenge. Like if you're not a people person, I'm not gonna. She's a people person. She's an extrovert. I'm not gonna say I'm not. I feel like I've had tons of friends my entire life. However, it's work for me to be outgoing. If you don't have the capacity to connect with every single type of person, it's going to be tough for you because every single type of person is going to walk in your gym, and you're gonna have to control that person. You're going to have to let them know that these are the rules. You're going to fall in line with these rules. You're going to fall in line with this culture. You're not going to do that dumb shit over there and hurt yourself. You know what I mean? Like you have to really be an authoritative person, to big or small. It doesn't matter. You know, when somebody walks in heavy metal, I want them to know right away that I'm in control here. You're going to listen to me. You're going to listen to my wife. I'm going to be very nice. The customer service is going to be there. But I think you have to have a strong will, be a strong personality, have strong character to run a place like that. And
you can never you never judge a book by its cover, and all types of people are going to come in, and we welcome that, but not. I think one of the things that this is just something that happens usually from someone who comes from a commercial gym. They'll take all the weights off one side before they take the weights off, uneven. So then, the bar goes flying. It's like things like that, we've over time, like I think we're so like, I don't want to say numb, but like seeing someone fail a squat or seeing certain things out in the gym, like it doesn't surprise us because now that we've been through it, like we just know like, okay, we're going to get someone, they just don't know better. And that's okay. And we can educate them. We can teach them. We can teach them how to rack their weights properly or, or unrack their weights properly or, how to do a certain exercise because they had no one to teach them. So that's also something that, I think with social media, people like to take videos and, they make fun and no. It's like, you just have to remember, like, not everybody is a lifter. Not everybody has had a gym like Heavy Metal. They're looking for something more. They're looking for something that's going to help them grow. And so we want to be that gym for them and welcome them with open arms. And a lot of times there's people that might not be outgoing. They might not be talkative, and you know, I might have seen them in a week and they haven't said one word to me, but then I go talk to them because I see them trying to, you know, they've never been on a GHR or something like that, right? And they're just staring at it, and I'm like, okay, well, let me kind of go help them out. And just that little bit of conversation, you know, I see them the next time and they're trying something else different. And it just kind of gives them that motivation, like, okay, this gym has some things that I've never been around or has some things to offer. And they like that feeling that we care enough to teach them or to show them. So I think being any business owner where you can have anybody off the street walk in your door, you never know what someone's going through. You never know their background. You never know where they're from, how much money they make or they don't make, what they're going through. But as long as you just make them feel at home and welcome in your place, I mean, that's all you can really do. And that'll take you far, because then they're going to tell someone else how they felt walking into Heavy Metal. They're going to tell someone else, hey, you know, the owner of Heavy Metal showed me how to use this, or I got on a pit shark today and I've had a knee surgery, or I have back problems and I didn't even know this existed, you know? And so things like that, you just, you know, being a gym owner doesn't mean you're like inferior and you're just over and you don't have to care. Like you're still caring every single day about each person that walks through that door. And every day I live like that. Every day I want every person in my gym to feel welcome and to feel like we care about everything in that gym, because if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just managing people, I think, is a real challenge. Hey, you know what's a real challenge? Managing lifters, like competitive athletes. Competitive athletes can have egos.
You think?
Yeah, you know. Now, keep in mind, I'm outside of this world until I'm in this world. You know what I mean? So that's been a challenge. You know, the fact that, you know, for years we didn't have kilo plates, and to me, I'm thinking, it's no big deal, but to them, it's everything. It's literally everything. And you know, we've lost people because I didn't have the kilo plates, or I didn't have this bar, I didn't have this brand's competition rack. You know, I'm not coming from that type of life or world. So that was an adjustment, understanding that these people are very specific. Now, I'm not their fucking magic genie. Like, this stuff costs money, you know what I'm saying? So I can't, you know, buy every single thing they want anytime they damn want it. But at the same time, also understanding that this sport means everything to them. And when they step out onto the platform, I want them to be as prepared as possible. And I want them to be confident, especially if they're representing the flag of Heavy Metal in our gym. So learning to invest in the athletes, even if you don't necessarily understand the rationale behind it, if that makes any sense.
No, I get it. I mean, it's not being a gym owner, right, but working in gyms and everything, and then being around the sport my entire life. I see both sides of this equation, right, to be as politically correct as I can about that situation and how it plays out, where you'll see, and I was talking to main lifters that are pissed. My gym owner won't do this is bullshit, and all this other kind of stuff. I'm like, okay, you know, I get what you're saying, but then you got to understand the gym owner, this is an expense. Like, how many of you are there? You got a crew of 5, you know, so you got a crew of 5, but now they're going to spend 10 grand just for your crew of 5 that can bolt and leave in 2 months. You know?
Yeah.
So the conversation I have with the lifters, more so in the past than I do anymore, is how much business do you bring this gym? Right? And that's because I'm like, here's the way that you need to sell the gym owner on this. Now, if he's an asshole and he's got an ego, it'll never work. But I'm trying to get you to buy a monolift, right? Something that over and above what most gym owners are going to be like, yeah, sure, I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
And we're not talking like a $300 bar. It's something over $2,000. Like, hey, look, I really think this will help your gym. And you're like, no, it's not, right? You already know it's not.
Right.
You know, maybe not, but it's not going to. But if I come at you and I'm like, you know what, I've been a member of your gym for like 5 years now, and you've seen the crews that I have. You know, I've had 5, 10 people kind of all the time. You know, man, every time I go out to eat someplace, they're like, man, where do you train? You know, it's heavy metal.
Right.
You know, so I'm showing you my value.
Yeah.
Like you already know. And so it's like, now look at the value that I've already brought in, you know, because there's 3 or 5 people in my crew, and it changes. It doesn't always stay the same.
Yeah.
And not everybody can say this. Very few people can actually say this. And now you're starting to run this through, and I'm like, it's not, so I don't want to pressure you, you know, by saying I'm going to leave, you know, but I pay my membership, which, you know, you should pay your memberships, guys, which is another problem. But I would always pay wherever I was at.
Yeah.
You know, Louis didn't take money after, you know, so that was a different thing. But always pay, because then I can have this conversation. So look, man, I always pay. My people always pay. You know, if I was to leave, you know, my crew is going to leave too. You know, so there's 5 other people. But let's not talk about that. Let's talk about if I should stay. If you get this, I'm definitely staying here for another 5 years.
Right.
Yeah.
Now you're running the numbers. You're like, okay, now wait a minute. You know, how much a month times 5
Right.
years? It's him.
5,
How many
10
referrals?
memberships.
You know, how many referrals am I pushing to you? You know,
Yeah.
as a lifter, I should be trying to push you referrals anytime.
Yeah.
I'm out to dinner. Where do you train? Man, I train at Heavy Metal, man. It's just down here. You know, you give them a call, talk to Tim, man. Tell him I sent you.
Right.
You know, all this kind of stuff. I couldn't afford the shit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So now when I go to have that conversation, you'll at least listen, because you're like, man, this dude's brought me like 15 members
Right.
and all this other stuff. And then at least it provides ground to where you're willing to have a conversation where, but you know what, maybe I'll buy it, you know what I'm saying? And you just give me 3 or 4 months of membership.
I wish somebody would propose some shit like that.
We've been blessed in a way, because sometimes there'll be a certain piece of equipment in a national competition, like for strongman, and you know, we have 5, 6 people that are going to need to use that. So, you know, now that we are bigger, we have a bigger following and more loyal following, they'll start a little pot, you know, and they'll start a pot and they'll say, hey, you know, we were able to raise this much, and then Tim and I will put the rest up, you know. So things like that, they don't happen all the time, but that's something that we appreciate.
I mean, yeah,
you
that's
know?
what I'm saying.
It's
I think,
great.
you know, if lifters are listening to this, there's, I don't want to say leverage, but there's conversations that you can have, you know, that gym owners would love to be able to have, you know, especially if you come and say, look, man, I'm going to buy this if you're going to buy it anyhow, then what's the difference if you buy it and you just give it to the gym and then they credit your membership, and now the gym owns it, you don't, which means you can't put a chain on it. You can't do this other shit to it. It's theirs because it's a fair trade.
Right.
Yeah, I remember the first pair of kilo plates somebody brought to the gym. You know, once again, while we were young gym owners, kind of naive, that's what she did. So she brought in the kilo plates, but then chained them up so nobody could use them but her. And I just, you know, it was one of Jean's homegirls, so I didn't make a big deal about it.
Yeah.
But I just thought, you know, why the fuck are those things here? Like, you know what I mean? But going back to you speaking to the lifters, I think that's a great idea. And if you can't even afford to do that, I would just say, just acknowledge the fact that this stuff costs money. I don't know if people think that every gym owner is rich because they own a gym.
Oh, they do.
Yeah.
You automatically make $250,000.
Exactly. So people, they're under that impression, but I would venture to say that most of the time that gym owner doesn't have shit. They're still trying to climb out of a hole that they put themselves in. You know what I mean? Like like we just spoke about earlier, there's times where we're on top, but then there's times where we're trying to rebuild. You know what I mean? And I'm more, me personally as a gym owner, I'm always looking to make the gym better, because no matter what, at the fucking core, I'm a lifter, and I love to be strong, and I want to use the new shit too. You know what I'm saying? So I'm always going to reinvest in the gym, in our athletes. However, and our people are good about this, so I'm not putting our people on blast. But the typical person that goes to a gym should understand that Kabuki deadlift bar, that Elite Fitness monolift, that damn Mars bar, those things cost a lot of money. They cost money, and most gym owners are just trying to make it like everybody else in this world, you know? Yeah, maybe if you own a Gold's Gym, you're rich. I have no idea, but when it's a small gym, you're doing your best just to survive especially initially.
With you said earlier that you started as a personal trainer, but then you got into training people, right? And you're doing it now. And we spoke last night about the woman that you had in the Titan games or whatever, Jackie, right?
Yeah.
How did that come to be? Not just that situation, but your training philosophy in general. So we'll go with, let's take your training philosophy from the garage, which she saw as being like insane,
Right.
and then how you've had to modify that for your clients, and then how that is built into, to a degree, the culture of the gym. Now, it can't build fully into the culture of a gym, but it can with clients and stuff like that. So how does that work? Because I want to talk a lot about this, because those people are the people that are listening to this podcast.
Yeah.
So a lot of people are under this false impression that the only people that listen to this podcast are competitive powerlifters. That's probably the minority of the people that are listening. The majority of the people are never going to compete. They just love to fucking train, and they want to get strong.
Word.
They don't even care that much about how jacked they get. They just want to be strong and train hard.
And guess what, guys? I'm no different.
Yeah.
At all. I mean, I'm starting to get self-conscious about my looks now because I'm older, but when I was young,
Dude, you're married and have kids, and now you're worried about your looks? You got that ass backwards.
Bro, it's a midlife crisis or something. Something's going on. When I was in the garage, all right, first off, I've been enamored with strength my entire life. I think I'm just a product of the 80s, of Arnold Schwarzenegger and damn Bruce Lee and Van Damme and G.I. Joe and He-Man and all these jack motherfuckers, and my parents too. My parents are physically active people, so watching martial art movies all day. My mom has 2 black belts. Like, that was just our household. It was a physically active household. So I've always admired strength. Not in others, really. I always felt like I was an athletic and strong person amongst my peers, but I really was inspired by people that were freaky strong or freaky fast or freaky whatever, which led me to some of your early articles, Westside Barbell and how you guys trained. And once I discovered Westside and the conjugate system, I went down that rabbit hole for 10, 15 years. I've probably read every damn article Louis put out. I was on Elite Fitness's website every day. It matched not just the style of training I felt interested in, but it just matched my personality. Like, I like to be intense when I train, and a dynamic day and a max effort day gave me the opportunity to always be as intense as possible, almost to my own detriment, to be honest. So I'm soaking up anything I can. I'm a sponge from the age of 20 really to now. However, let's just say pre-gym, from 20 to 30, I'm studying, learning, trial and error out the ass. I'm trying everything. I'm pushing myself. There's a lot of people I've met since I've opened up heavy metal, way stronger than I could ever dream of being. But I've yet to meet the person that trained harder than me. When I talk about intensity in training, I haven't seen anybody that pushed themselves to the limits I was willing to push myself. Now this is where I fucked up. Not with diet and nutrition. I was terrible about that.
Yeah.
Or sleep, or even structured programming. I never used drugs. But when it came to intensity during a set, I didn't care if I died. I didn't care if my tricep popped off. I didn't care if my knee blew out. I didn't care if I had a stroke. If I had a number in my mind, I was going to get to that number, which got me to a certain point. It did get me relatively strong. I'm proud of my numbers for what they are and how I had to get them. However, I also felt like it limited my top-end strength and what I was able to accomplish as far as my numbers. There was no real strategy or intelligence to it. It was just push yourself to the absolute limit, whether it was weight on the bar or whether it was reps. And after doing that for the better part of damn 10, 15 years, I realized, all right, it got me here, but it's getting me really no further, you know? Once I opened up heavy metal, and I'm training people, your gen pop people, we start to attract competitive athletes. They all are kind of doing their own thing. Being a coach for them is not even on my radar. I haven't thought about it. You know, if anything, I'm trying to learn stuff from them because they're the competitive athletes. So Jackie Wood, one of our original members, she comes in there. She had just come off a bad breakup. She's trying to add muscle. She's kind of going through her own little crisis. She's starting out lifting weights. One of our members, who was already a competitive strongman athlete, convinces her to do a strongman competition. Her and my wife, Michelle, who starts doing strongman. So this little girl, Jackie Wood, does her first contest. She probably places last. My wife, did you win that one?
No, we didn't, it was the Jill Mills Classic, yeah. We got like second and third or something like that.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Or fourth, or something like that.
I wasn't embellishing a little bit.
Yeah.
So she did well, but, you know, not to the extent that she wanted. So she does another contest and kind of has a similar result. I think this time she got second place, which qualified her for nationals, but it was out of maybe 3 or 4 women. You know what I mean? And so for her next contest, she decides she's going to do nationals, and she needs a coach. She doesn't want to work with the person she's been working with. She wants me to coach her. For what reason, I have no idea. Maybe she seen me train. We had become cool in the gym, but being a coach was, for a competitive athlete, something I've never done before. At the time, I'm surrounded by dudes I really admire. Luke is one. He competed at the Arnold Classic against Hafthor Bjornsson in 2010. So this motherfucker's been doing strongman for at this point, 6 years, or longer than that, competing for at least 6 years. Then we have this other kid named Matt LeBlanc that's just a fucking phenom strength athlete, strongman competitor. So I'm trying to push her to them. I'm like, yo, they're going to be able to coach you way better than I could. These guys are high-level strongmen. For whatever reason, she just will not take no for an answer. So I told her, okay, listen, I've never coached anybody for a contest, but I do feel confident that I can get you stronger and more powerful. I mean, that's what I'm obsessed with. If you're willing to take a chance, you know, let's do this. So we go to nationals. Her and my wife compete in nationals together. I'm coaching both of them. We prep for nationals. Out of 48 women, Jackie winds up getting 4th place. My wife, I think you got 10th or 11th?
Yeah, 11th or 12th, something like that. Yeah.
She had been training with weights all of 6 months. So 4th place for Jackie qualified her for Worlds, which was the Arnold Classic. We do another prep. We go to the Arnold Classic. She winds up getting 2nd place at the Arnold Classic. This is a chick that's never lifted weights before. The 2nd place at the Arnold Classic gives her her pro card. Once she gets her pro card, we're off and running. She wins a world championship in USS, United States Strongman Federation. She gets invited, I guess they were searching women through social media, to the Titan Games, the Rock Show, the first season for that. She kicks everybody's ass up until the season finale. What else has she done?
She's just done so many.
I mean, she was really my first athlete, and we both didn't know what the fuck we were doing. But because of the success that we had together, other people came on board. To this point, I don't know how many people I've helped get their pro cards. Countless have gone to nationals. I just came back from IPF or IPL Worlds. My guy got 2 world records in a world championship. I've been very blessed to have had this success as a coach, especially because I never dreamed of coaching competitive athletes. I wanted to turn regular people just into monsters, which is, to be, might have been what we did. I think if we've done anything well as a gym, I don't recruit strong people or other athletes, or I don't try to entice high-level lifters to come to the gym. If they want to come through, that's badass. We'd love to have you. We're going to make sure you're comfortable and happy here.
So what's this training look like? I mean, is it conjugate based? I mean, what's it look like?
Yeah. Okay, so it's a little bit of conjugate was an inspiration. I can't say it's to the letter of the law of conjugate. I just noticed commonalities between people that, for instance, most people aren't technically sound enough to be doing max effort work consistently. It winds up beating people up mainly because they don't hold good positions when the weight gets heavy. They're not practiced enough. So I very rarely have people max out 100% unless we want to max out 100%.
Yeah.
The dynamic effort work I found for most people is one or two things. Let's say you're not a fast, twitchy type person, and the DE work could help in some capacity. I find more success with, instead of using a barbell, bands, chains with the DE work, to actually make them do something dynamic. We do resisted sprints. We do hurdle bounds, box jumps. We do things where their body has to be twitchy. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. If I tell somebody to explode off this box with maximal power, in a person that's not naturally explosive, you almost can't tell much of a fucking difference. You know what I'm saying? But if I put that fucking hurdle at 36 inches and I tell you got to bound over each one with minimal ground contact time, you have no choice. So in twitchy people, I slow them down. We manipulate tempos a lot. I like slow eccentric work. I like to put them under tension. I think it helps with joint stability and strength. I was one of those people. I was very explosive, but I wouldn't consider myself really strong. Like I could blow through weight, but if you made me get tight, brace, squeeze the bar off the ground, that motherfucker ain't going nowhere. I need to relax and explode into it. So I recognize that in people too. My training style is very varied. It's a lot of tempo manipulation, a ton of accommodating resistance, not just to teach the body to accelerate throughout the tension or chain weight, but also to deload the lift where the joints are in a compromised position, to also overload the top of the lift. Now, a lot of this is corresponding to strongman. Now, I am a lot more varied in my approach with powerlifters than what they're used to too. But with strongman, I truly enjoy coaching people for that because it's such an athletic endeavor, and there's so many bases you have to cover. We do a lot of reverse band work, believe it or not. I personally like the accommodating resistance to keep them healthy, but also reverse band in particular, I like it because they see the weight on the bar. I like it for their psyche. Remember when Brandon Lilly came out with the cube? And, you know, it kind of like was a repetition day, dynamic day, max effort day. I don't do that. However, I do like to cycle the emphasis of the lift, meaning like I do like the idea of pushing the weight on something on one given day. Maybe, 10 days later, we're doing a very similar lift, slight variation, but maybe the volume's a lot higher this time. Maybe the next time I'm having you do it with the slow eccentric to make sure technically we're building strength in every inch of that range of motion. My training style, I wish I could give you a direct answer. I couldn't write a book because there's not a black and white structure to it. There's no system where I say I do this. I think, honestly, it changes from person to person. And it evolves as I get better and as we go to these contests. And, man, damn, he got 6th place at this show. I fucking thought he was going to hit the podium. I wish we had done this, and that. So then it evolves for the next time. You know what I mean? Like, I've been blessed to have, over the last 10 years, countless guinea pigs. And if I could say anything, I've been inspired by conjugate probably the most. But because conjugate is so varied, because it's so varied and individual, I think that's the principle I lean on the most, that the training needs to be varied and individual.
Yeah.
You
So
know?
what are some of the key metrics that you're going to see with the athletes that you're working with that are going to tell you, okay, this needs to change? So either their tempo begins to become slower, you know, it's so let's just take a squat, for instance, just a lift that any athlete's going to use, and you're going to use a variation of that lift. And then so you got three different tempos of that. So there's the repetition method, right? So you're using that. So let's say they fall short of 3 or 4 reps of what you think they're capable of doing. Or let's say on the heavier submaximal work, the triples, they're off of where that triple should be. Or the dynamic work, they're just, like you said, you already kind of explained that. They're not popping like they should, so maybe they're not going to do that. Maybe they're going to go do the hurdles.
Yeah.
All right, let's say, so if the submaximal's off, right, how do you change around that?
Yeah. So 9 times out of 10, if I see somebody's not firing on the cylinders I think they should be firing on, it's really simple. 9 times out of 10, they've been overworked in some capacity. Most of the time, that's an indication to me that we need to back off, or we need to maybe today, instead of doing that squat, we could do something totally concentric, like a heavy sled push. You know what I mean? Something that's not. It's hard to say. Like, right, I'm not a big fan of long template training plans.
Yeah.
Because I think literally on a daily basis, people come in operating at a different level. And I got to eyeball it. Typically, I'll know within their warm-ups what I need to do for them that day. I can just tell. I could tell by the way they set up on a bench. I could tell by how tight they're staying on a squat. I could tell by the speed of the lift. And I'll make that change immediately. Most of the time, if their strength is down considerably to the point where I think, oh, shit, I thought he was going to hit this, and he's only, most of the time, I've seen it while they're warming up, and we're not even going to get there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But if they do get there and it's just a catastrophic day, then most of the time it's because they need some rest. They need some recovery. I think managing recovery is really key. And that goes back to why I like such a varied approach. I find that we can train harder, longer, when the stimulus, kind of what Louis preaches, when the angles are different, when the ranges of motion are different, when the tempos are different, when we move with weight, moving with weight, farmer's walks, yoke carries, Zercher's carries, sandbag carries. Bro, that shit's fucking critical. Not just for a strongman athlete, that's critical for all athletes. Unilateral work. I'm big on sled work. I'm huge on sled work, and I'm huge on sled work not just for the lower body, not just for conditioning, but for the upper body. We do tons of upper body sled work because it's all concentric. I could bang them the fuck out with the upper body sled work, and they'll be good within 2 days.
Yeah.
There's no eccentric phase. And it's aerobic in nature as well. So we're getting in shape. We're working core. We're doing a lot. I think that's, bro, you guys out there that own garage gyms, if I'm taking anything, if I'm stranded on a desert island and I could take one piece of equipment, I'm taking that damn sled, because it does everything. I'm going to build muscle. I'm going to build power. I'm going to build strength. I'm going to get coordinated with it. I'm going to understand my body in space. I'm getting unilateral work. I'm getting foot, ankle, calf work. I mean, that thing is like the perfect training tool. But what's different about me and most people is we use it a lot for the upper body too. So sorry to go off on that tangent. Training style for me is totally fluid. If there is breakdowns, if there's a glaring decrease in strength or power, typically they're overtrained. Let's say it's not all that apparent. Maybe it's like, they hit 4, I thought they were going to hit 5. Then I want to see where the breakdown was. Was it a positional thing? Was it a technical thing? Were they truly just not that strong enough? And if they weren't strong enough, where are they not that strong? You know what I mean? Like, there's infinite factors that go into somebody's performance. And I'm checking for all of it. I've never made a big marketing approach to online training because I know when I give somebody a workout, I got too much intent behind every single set and repetition of what I want from that set and repetition. And 99% of the time, if I hand you a program, you ain't gonna do the shit right. And it's hard for me to live like that. So I have a small nucleus of athletes I train that if they're training, I try my best to be there because I'm gonna make the adjustments I need to make that day.
Well, you can, I've said this plenty of times on the podcast. You can tell their physical state as soon as they walk through the door.
No doubt.
Mm-hmm.
After 5 or 6 steps, you get a pretty good idea.
Yeah.
You know if it's really bad.
Yeah.
Just by how they walk in.
Yeah.
So it's just a constant change the whole entire time going through. Now, on the other end of that is when you need to, with the athletes you're probably working with, it's probably rare, but it's going to happen when you need to push them harder.
Yeah.
Now, when do you know what tells you that?
The perceived exertion of the lift, right? Like if I haven't, let's say I have somebody and we get to, like Austin, for example, one of my big guys, or Nick, let's say the goal for that day is a 400-pound log clean and press, and he smashes it, and it looks like an RPE 8. Bro, I don't waste those days. You know what I'm saying? Those days can be like unicorns sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna go after it. Just like I'm gonna make the call to back you down, I'm gonna make the call to push you a little bit too.
Mm-hmm.
I think RPEs are invaluable. The problem with RPEs is that it takes a lot of experience to truly gauge your RPE.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Most people can't do it. But over time, just watching people lift day in, day out, 12 hours a day, I feel like I have a keen eye for perceived exertion, especially with the people that I'm coaching. So just like I'll pull somebody back, I'm going to push them harder. And at this point, if I've been working with you for a while, I know your capability, I know your potential, I know your mindset, I know your personality. And if I feel like you're dragging ass because you're just whatever, bro, we're going to crank this shit up. Bro, we got fucking a competition in 3 weeks, man.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't hit this fucking stone, it's because of today. It's because you wasted a training day. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I think the art of coaching is all in person. I think online coaching and programming is, I'm thankful that it exists. I think it's a good opportunity to have structure to their training. I think it's a great avenue for people to make money, but it is not coaching to me. Mm-hmm. It's not, you're not a coach. You gave this person a workout. You know what I mean? For me, coaching is in the trenches, in the gym, at the contest. There's times we got to make adjustments at the contest.
Mm-hmm.
I really wish, Dave, I could give you black and white answers, man. But for me, every day's different.
Mm-hmm.
Every day's different, and it's based off performance. It's based off energy. It's based off of, how they slept the night before. Are they pissed at their effing girlfriend? I mean, we're always making micro adjustments.
How does this change after a competition? So say here's the competition, now you got a month after that.
Yeah.
Is that same focus and energy in that block as it is in the other blocks?
No.
Or is it does it change?
Typically, yeah, it changes big time. I mean, typically after a hard contest, especially in a sport like strongman where you're going to get beat up. They do some amazing things.
Yeah.
And it's a long couple days. You understand what I'm saying? It's, at a powerlifting meet, you're going to do 9 lifts. 6 of them may be heavy, right? Bro, they're going maximal on everything. And we've been training hard usually for about 10 weeks prior to a contest. So the week after a contest, I don't even want them in the gym. Not just to give their body a chance to recover, but give their psyche a chance to recover. Just, you've earned this break, let's take a week off from the gym. Once they do come back into the gym, in my mind, I want a clean slate before we start the next prep. All those aches and pains that you had going into this contest, I want those done before we start prepping again. So most of our training is not going to exceed in RPE 8. It's just not. We're going to work on weaknesses. We're going to build as much muscle as we can. We're going to keep the work capacity high. We're going to make sure injuries heal. But more of anything, I want them to get hungry to lift heavy again. If you're constantly redlining, and I know this from experience, you're never recovering. You're just never going to recover. And you're always going to spin your wheels, and you're always going to hang out at this, level of strength because you've never given your body a chance to adapt to the stress of the training. So, we take a nice, slow, linear ramp up into a contest. But it's not just linear in weight like I mentioned before. It's linear across the board, but it may be rest restrictions, like, the training density that we manipulate. EMOMs turn into cluster sets. The 30-second cluster set turns into a 15-second rest cluster set. You understand what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of, everything linearly progresses, but it's never just weight and reps. You understand what I'm saying? We try to play around with all variables. That way the intensity can relatively stay high, as well as the recovery.
Yeah. So how do you apply this to yourself now?
That's a great question. Now, to be fair, to be 100% fair, it starts with me. I'm really the guinea pig. That's why I struggle to be an athlete, because it's hard for me to stay rigid to any one thing. Like, I want to experiment. I like to explore different tempos. I like to explore different exercises. The upper body sled work and the value I found in that started with my training. You know what I mean? And now that I'm getting older, more beat up, I cannot train the way I used to. My strength came from intensity, brute force. My technique was never that great. My training plans were never that great. It was intensity and brute force, and it's gone. I can't do it anymore. My skeletal structure cannot sustain it. So now when I do train, and a lot of the things I do discover and pass on to my athletes, it's because it's keeping me healthy too. You understand what I'm saying? Like, I'm getting a great stimulus from it. I can see the value in it. I can feel the value in it. However, I got to be able to recover from it too. I've had some horrific injuries that I can't repeat. Not as a dad. It wasn't that long ago when I had my first son, and I couldn't pick him up. I could not pick him up. Michelle would have to pick him up and put him in my arms because I couldn't do it. I couldn't tie my shoes. I couldn't cut my toenails. I couldn't get out my truck. There was times I'd take my son to swim class, and I couldn't get out my truck. You know what I mean? And so when you go through some shit like that, you get smart about training. You get real smart about it. And whatever I learn, I try to pass on.
How do you, because you own the place, how do you separate, how do you train in your own place without it being distracted?
That's hard.
You know what I'm saying? It's like I have, granted it's different because it's not a commercial gym in any way, but I still have to leave the building and then come back in the building.
Yeah.
That's a mental thing that
That's
I have
part
to
of
be able to do.
when we first were talking about business owners or gym owners, everything that you thought, oh, I'm just going to work out all day. Like, your training goes to shit. I mean, that's the first thing that probably happened.
That's what I tell people all the time. Like, especially if you're a competitive athlete and you want to open up your own gym, you got to understand the success of your gym may mean sacrificing your athletic success.
Or go somewhere else to train.
Yeah, it may.
Right.
It may. So I did that for a while. What I did was if I wanted to squat or deadlift heavy, which to me were the workouts I needed the most focus on, I would still go back to the garage.
I was going to say, there's a lot of gym owners that still have their garage gym for that reason.
Yup. Nowadays, I've been so hurt that I haven't been able to get back to heavy squats. There's something about putting that weight on my back that keeps re-injuring me. It's not necessarily the deadlifting. It's something about the compressive nature of the squat that fucks my back up. So now that I'm not squatting as heavy or deadlifting as heavy, I just train at the gym because it's not as extremely intense or focused as it once was.
Yes.
And if I get distracted in the gym now while I'm doing my little fucking seal rows or something,
no big deal.
I'm not tripping. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. So it's easily interrupted.
Yeah.
That's what I would call it.
Yeah.
Right?
My workouts can last up to 4 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause he's
Mainly
just-
because they're so all over the place.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Whereas for myself, I'll have 3 to 4 training days per week, and the ones that are in the evening during the week, Wednesday and Thursday, are very easily interrupted.
Yeah.
There's not a whole lot of shit going on.
Yeah.
It's just stupid. I don't even have to. In my brain, it's like I don't even have to do it, but I'm still doing it.
Yeah.
Now on Saturday, it's a little different because I got a crew that comes out and squats, so that's more focused.
Yeah.
But I also don't have the distractions, on a Saturday that I would have during the other times.
Yeah. I could be working out and a new person walks in the door. I got to give them a tour. Like if I don't have a front desk girl up there, I'm going to give them a tour. I'm going to show them the gym. I'm going to go through the prices. Then the phone's going to ring.
Yeah.
And so-and-so wants to show me his fucking squat he just did. And before I know it, 30 minutes have gone by and I haven't done shit.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no, I get that. I mean, I've had, for a long time, I would train my upper body accessories on Thursday during the day. And I'd have my laptop or iPad out here or my phone, and say I started training at 10:30, I get done at like 3:30. But I'm cleaning shit up, I'm answering my emails, I'm running to the front desk, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. I'm still getting done what I need done, which is kind of just piddly-ass stupid shit.
Yeah.
But, there's no way that if I was still competitive or trying to be competitive, that shit isn't going to fly.
You got to, like as an athlete, I feel like you almost have to be selfish. You have to be selfish about your lifestyle if you really want to be great and maximize your potential. But being selfish in running a gym isn't conducive. It's just not. You have to be selfless to run a gym. Mm-hmm. And my training comes second to the people I'm helping.
Yeah.
And I'm comfortable with that now. Luckily, I got that gap in my garage, that time gap of about 8 years where I was a maniac. And I pushed myself to the limits of what I was capable of. And although that time has passed me, I take comfort in the fact that I couldn't have done anything more. I pushed myself to the limits of what I thought I had in my body. And because I did that, I'm okay with letting my foot off the gas nowadays. Mm-hmm. Does that make any sense?
No, I get it. I understand it, but there's still that beast that's within.
Oh, no doubt.
Oh,
no doubt. I still let it. Don't get it twisted.
Yeah.
Don't get it twisted.
there's times for sure. Like, I mean, he's not gonna change the diaper.
Yeah.
If he's working out, like he's not gonna, it's I know, and because I've been with him for so long, I know him now. Like I know, even though it's not how he used to train, the time that he has, I know how much it means to him, even if it's an hour or 30 minutes. And he'll say, hey, I'm about to get my workout in. This is the only time during this day before my 5 or 6 athletes come in at night. This is my time. So, I already know what I have to do because I want him to have that time, because it also, it affects, what a lot of people don't, and this goes for like in relationships and things like that. Like, having to know or knowing that what training does for your significant other, like for Tim, it's like happiness and it's stress relieved. It's what he's bleeds is strength training or whatever his training is. But I have to kind of understand, like, okay, this is his time. This is his moment. Let me do everything I can in that moment to make sure that he gets that in, because it affects the rest of his day, And so, for me, that's something that I had to kind of learn early on, is that that's what he's going to do. Let me help him through that. And then now I know years later how much more now it means to him, because they're very scarce these days, a good workout, because that's not interrupted, because he's not going to let somebody, he's not going to be working out and see somebody not know how to, they don't know how to set up the GHR, or they're not, the pit shark chain is this long and they're bottoming out, he's going to go and adjust and going to go help that person. So it's just a matter of like teamwork and knowing like he's got this much time to himself. Let me make sure that he can get that in.
Yes. Is this your full-time focus work-wise, the gym now?
Yes.
At what point in time did you know that you could make that decision?
That was...
Or why did you make the decision?
he just couldn't do it by himself. We didn't have all the help. Like you said, there's no one that's going to run your gym like you are in the beginning, at least. You know, over time, you're going to find, we have some people in our gym right now that they love the gym like it was their own. I mean, they're not gonna walk past a crumb. They're gonna pick that crumb up, and that's crazy to think, but that's, somebody cares that much when they're doing that. So there was a point in time where I was just there, and I was, keeping things running, and and then I would feel guilty, like, oh man, I've got to leave, and I've got to go work a Spurs game till midnight. And I would go and run a private suite for Spurs owners and make sure that their room was run perfectly, because they're the millionaires, they own the team, and they have a specific way of doing things, and private chefs and all that good stuff. And I thought, well, like, I'm tired of doing that for someone else. I want to make sure that I'm putting that type of effort and that energy and that attention to detail into my gym, and making sure that it's paying off for us, and that I'm putting that into heavy metal, so that we can be the best gym that we can be. So that's pretty much, I was kind of balancing both. And I would leave, and I'm like, damn, I know it's about to get busy in here. It's 5:00, and I would have to go. Spurs game started at 7, so you'd have to be there at 5. And I'm like, you know what? Like, it's just time. Like, I could be, my value and my worth is better at heavy metal. I can sell T-shirts. I answer the phone. Someone says, hey, I've been wanting to come check out this gym. I'm not sure. I'm like, come on in. My name is Michelle. I'm here. Like, I'll meet you at 5:30. I'll be here. And they're like, oh, okay. So it's like getting that customer in. Like, that's something, like, I'm not going to let someone hang up the phone without either getting their phone number, getting them in for a free assessment, talking to them about, what it is they're looking for in their training. Like, I try to turn every call into a sale, an interaction, a tour, a walk-in, a client. And that's just kind of like my business sense. So I just know that, I'm able to make the gym better if I'm there.
Mm-hmm. Now with his training being as insane as it was,
right,
you really being on the outside looking into this,
mm-hmm.
Even though he's not competing, but he's training like an obsessed competitor.
Right.
There's a part of you that's like admires that.
Right.
And there's another part of you like, what the fuck are you doing?
Right.
You're just beating the shit out of yourself.
Right.
Like,
right.
Why
I used to get so sad.
Yeah.
Because I would come home, and he'd be like hosing out throw up.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why are you doing this to yourself?
Yes. Well, there's that, and then there's, I'm doing this on Christmas. We'll do this afterwards. Right. And then the Easter.
That caused a lot of issues in the beginning, because I didn't get it.
I mean, you kind of just blew right over that real quick. And I'm not going to sit here and think that didn't cause a lot of issues.
I didn't understand it, because I there's things that everyone's obsessed with, certain things, and everyone has things that they love to do, right? So maybe it's someone's obsessed with, I don't know, classic cars, right? So everything about that car, you want it perfect, and you're gonna find the perfect pieces and make sure it's detailed. Like for Tim, it's like strength and working out, and like in the beginning, I'm like, okay, like it's been 3 hours. Like what more could he be possibly doing? But because I saw, the videos that he was watching, because that was, so he had like a routine. So it was like, depending on if it was hot or not, he's throwing on the hoodies, he's got the beanie going, he's bringing out the old school laptop. I hear the screaming. It's all the videos of you guys on the monolift from the first West Side,
getting that inspiration.
Gym. He has everything is like, his thing is, I got to get my mind right. So like, there's no kissing, there's no, hey, come here, let me show you. It's like, I know he's about to get in workout mode. That was his favorite. I'm getting in workout mode. And there's only certain videos, even to this day, he puts those same things on 20 years later, and they're still grainy little YouTube videos. We've got DVDs and books, and, he'll get on the toilet, he reads a certain book, and then he's getting ready for his workout. He mixes his pre-workout or whatever. Like those things, I had no idea what that was. But over time, I just, like I said, it's realizing that like, that's just something that he's born with, or that he's, it's ingrained in him. So over time, I had to realize that that's just what he's going to do. I mean, I remember I went to your dad's house like on a Thanksgiving, and I rang the doorbell by myself. we had just started dating, and they're like, where's Tim? I was like, because then I started having to like telling them like, oh, well, he'll be here soon. Like he's in the gym working out. And even they didn't understand it, but they also know Tim at this point. Like that's their son, they know him. But, you know, in the early days, I would be like, Merry Christmas. And I'm like, well, Tim will, Tim will be here. You know, he's just wrapping up, like excusing, trying to give him the excuses for him. Or if he would go home and he would be late, like I knew why, because he would, he'd leave the gym, he'd leave the first gym, and he would go work out and do his thing, and then he'd come back, So it's just, it took time for sure, but like I said, it's knowing that it's something that just brings him so much joy, but the amount of intensity that it takes to get, or like the amount of him just getting in his zone, like even adding up to that, like that takes time, and like he has a routine. So just kind of staying clear is what I have to do.
Well, why I asked that, why I put that out there is because there's, is I call it the washed up meathead. I mean, you're hurt, injured, or fucked up, right? So you get to the point where things are fucked up, right? And when they're fucked up, you're not going to really spend a whole lot of time getting in a pre-workout mode and hitting pre-workout
those
and all this
definitely
other kind of shit, because so that a lot of that's faded a little bit,
right?
Where the passion's still there, but that's faded. So a little piece of you's got to be thinking like, thank God.
Yeah. No, for sure.
Now it may come back. It may come back, but it's not going to come back.
And it's different now because we have kids.
Yeah. But were you worried that it wasn't going to ever?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Well, the thing is though, like, he might not be squatting 500 pounds anymore, but if I interrupt, even right now, he's doing like bicep curls. Mm-hmm. I gotta stay away because I know he only has this amount of time still, and it's just, even though it's a bicep curl, he treats. I think that's what really makes him like not a great coach, but like just the way he trains. Like it doesn't matter what the exercises are or the workout entails, he's gonna treat it with so much respect and intent in that moment that it's just as if like he's loading up for a 500-pound squat. Like he cares about the positioning, he cares about the rep and making sure it's done properly, even if it isn't how he used to train. He's still gonna treat that workout, great.
Like I think she gained an appreciation for the mindset of a lifter once she started competing and once she started hanging out with that girl Jackie I just mentioned. They became close friends. They started training together. Believe it or not, she was the real talent. Like I would get so mad at her for letting Jackie pick out what weights to use because she was so much stronger than Jackie was. And I'd be like, yo, this fucking chick is holding you back. Yo, you should be lifting 100 pounds more than this. No. But as she got into training, which, we were together 7-8 years before I opened up the gym. That was the first time she had strength trained. 8 years before that, she never touched a weight. So then she starts training with Jackie, starts doing these strongman contests. And as she's competing at a national level, I think she understands, this is why he needs focus and this is why he needs to be left alone because this shit's heavy. You know what I mean? And you got to be, when it's a top set, you got to be locked in,
Well, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that that's probably a big part of it, but the other part of it is you've had this gym for how long now?
Almost 10 years.
10 years.
10 years. So you've seen how strength training can change people's lives.
Oh, for sure.
Right.
Sure.
That's the understatement.
The perception is has changed.
Right.
Because you saw it as an obsession for him, but now you're seeing it as something that is absolutely pivotal. Right. In some people's lives.
I mean, during COVID, Dave, it was the members that we have, like there was no pandemic, nothing that was going to stop them from working out. And like that was really eye-opening too, right? Because the rest of the world just said, oh well, like I'll just, run on a track outside, or all the commercial gyms were shut. We were one of the last gyms to shut because we were, a small gym and they weren't really looking at us. But right around that time, Tim was like, I don't know what our people are going to do, because we have veterans, we have people that no one cared about in the real world, but in heavy metal, they're somebody, there's something, right? And we didn't know what we were gonna do, right? And so we were shut down, and Tim was like, well, we can't hold all this stuff hostage. He's like, these people, they're gonna drive themselves crazy because they need to train, they need to lift something. So we literally looked at each other and we're like, let's just lend everything to everybody. Because he knows, I've got my garage gym. He doesn't have to worry about anything, but all these other poor people that we've been, building up over the years that, now feel like they don't know what they're going to do with their lives. They're not working, lifting is everything to them, which how it is to lift and how it makes you feel. So what we did is we just said, let's just lend everything to everybody. And we made a list, we made a chart of everything that we had. And a lot of people actually stepped up and said, hey, like, I don't care what this pandemic does to me. I'm still gonna lift, and I'll let any person come to my house and lift. So we gave like a power rack to one guy with, 500 pounds of weights and a bar or 2 bars. And then he opened up his house and let anybody go over there. Then another guy said, hey, I'll be the strongman, mini gym. So we lent him. So next thing you know, and then, people are reaching out to us, and we're giving bars and kettlebells. So it was like, even in that moment, us understanding like, oh, we're not just gonna shut down and feel sorry for ourselves and feel sorry for the members. Like, they were happy to get a pair of dumbbells. They were happy to get a band and a kettlebell. Like, we had little packages that we were giving people. And we got every single thing back. We didn't get one thing broken, but it's knowing that, in our gym, what we have and what we've built, the mindset and the type of people, they're almost all alike. And we know what it means to them. So it's just making sure that they've got everything that they can, because we just know what it means to them to be in our gym and to be able to have access to that stuff. So that's why they really respect it, the type of equipment that we have.
I really wish you could come. I know it's hard for you to get away, but I don't think there's a lot of gyms like ours that exists. I hear it so often that now I believe it. Like, people always wish they had something like what we got. And it's not necessarily the equipment. The equipment's sick. That's what's going to get people excited initially. But it's just, like, everybody in there is very, very, very close-knit. And we're talking about a general population gym where at least 50% of the people compete in something. And if they haven't, they will eventually. And they all get to know each other. They all have each other's back. It's a trip, man. It's, we're surrounded around, if there's ever been a blessing that I can kind of like single out since we've been on this journey, is, bro, like, I've met some of the best people in my life in this gym. But the real trip is, had it not been for the gym, in no way would I have ever met this person. We're too different. You know what I mean? From scientists to doctors to fucking police officers. I've met so many different wonderful people, and we're joined. We're bonded by the iron. You know what I mean? And when we have 250 people that have a real passion for lifting. Like, you can do that type of shit in a club, like at another gym in town. Like, he has a powerlifting club, a collegiate powerlifting club. Like, that's a fucking club. What we've done is we've made a team of people from the general population, and it's different. It's different because a lot of these people, not only did they not know they could get strong, they never dreamed of being competitive strength athletes. And now, once they do that, now they want to go to nationals in the Arnold and whatever. Our greatest successes, as far as people are concerned, and our most loyal people that we have at Heavy Metal, aren't the guys that showed up already strong. They're the people that didn't even know they had that shit in them. And we cultivated it and taught them what we knew. They fell in line with the culture. They took a chance on themselves and started competing. And I can name, I don't even know how many people from our gym that are at a national, world, or pro level that never even thought about doing a contest before they walked inside a heavy metal.
Why do you think that all is?
I think over time, I think we've created a culture
It
where
is a
like,
culture, for sure.
where like if you're a regular person and you walk in the door, you're going to, first off, everybody's going to welcome you because that's what Michelle and I want. And we're going to lead it from the top, you know. I'm a purposely introduce everybody to everybody.
I think social media, there's people, and recently I had a lady call and say that she's always wanted to try a deadlift, you know, and I'm just thinking like, well, wow, like how, you know, the fact that like she's probably in her late 30s, 40s, 50s, I don't know, we were on the phone, but I'm like, the fact that she's never done that, she's always wanted to, you know, and they see things on probably social media and they think like, well, I'd like to try that, right? Because now they can, you know, before you weren't able to see things like that. Now you can see how to do anything. You can see videos of people. You can see, you know, the grandma that lifted 200 pounds or who's 99, you know, when that video goes viral, the old lady, like maybe things like that are starting to come into play where people are seeing that and like, you know what, like if she can do it, I can do it, right? So then they think, well, where am I gonna deadlift at? And then they Google powerlifting gym or strength gym or strongman gym, San Antonio or whatever. And then we come up, right? So it's like,
But so do other places.
Yeah, this is the thing. That person will walk in and we're going to greet that person and we're going to make sure that they feel comfortable even though they don't know what the fuck they're doing. I don't care that you don't know what you're doing. You already did the hardest part. You walked in. There's a lot of big, strong motherfuckers that are scared to walk in here, and you did. So now that I'm free of personal training the way I used to, I can spend time with this person, and I'm going to show them, hey, these are these bars. This is this bar. This is our belt squats. If you don't know how to use anything in here, come grab me. Let me show you how to do it. Matter of fact, before you leave here, you're going to try something you've never tried before. So boom, that's literally how every person comes in the gym. We're helping them along the way, at least initially. But at the same time, we have these damn monsters training for contests over here. And so as they're learning how to do belt squats and cambered bar good mornings, they're also watching Jess and Rob and Nick and Austin and Abel. All these guys are training for their contests, and they're getting to know these guys. These guys are cool. They're inspired by these people.
And then they see the whole gym stop and cheer for that person.
Yeah.
And they're like, wow, what is that, you know?
So as we have these badass competitive athletes training, the Gen Pop people are in there amongst them. They're all meeting each other, but these people are being inspired by these people. So then, you know, me, myself, or one of the athletes come up to them and tell them, hey, when's your contest? You want to try this out? Like, I think you'd be great. We're hosting our contest in September. You have 4 months to train. It's plenty of time. We just give them that nudge. You know what I mean? And if they decide they want to do it, I got the coaches for them. I've just like you vet your authors on the damn website, my trainers are vetted. You won't be a mediocre trainer in heavy metal. I'll be in there by myself again before I let a bad trainer in there. So we get them with a trainer, even if it's just a program or a once-a-week session, but we make sure, and even if it's me in between their sessions with their coach, helping them out, learning, answering questions, whatever, but we make sure that their lead up and their first competition is a success.
Well, going back to when they're first walking in the door, 90% of all other gyms, health clubs, spas, whatever you're going to call it, they're not going to do what you're doing. No. So the question comes back to then why you do it and they don't.
Well,
because it's our passion, and it's our livelihood. Like everything about the gym, you know, all the gym's success. It helps us, right? It helps us to thrive and keep, you know, the more people that come in and love the gym, then I can give back and put back more, you know, into the gym. And, you know, the front desk at a whatever gym, like she's probably just has that job because she's, you know, just trying to make some money and get by. Like our front desk or most of our trainers work the front desk too. Like, they are actual lifters, you know, and I mean, Tess, one of our trainers, Tess, I mean, she lives and breathes powerlifting.
That can be a good or bad thing, though, if they're at your desk.
Let me ask you, or let me answer the question from my perspective. At the very foundational core of why I wanted to open up a gym is because, bro, lifting for me, I felt like damn Superman walking the streets when I was in my biggest, strongest physical shape. The joy, the confidence, the high self-esteem that strength training did for me, I almost felt bad that other people didn't get the same feeling. Like I wanted everybody to feel like a goddamn beast the way I did. Like at its core, that's why I opened up a gym, to help people feel better about themselves the way I walk around feeling great about myself. If lifting does anything for you, people ask me, like one of the themes of the conversations, I trained so hard, but I didn't compete. Bro, I trained because I loved the way training made me feel. It just made me feel like when I was at my worst, and I was really doing a lot of criminal activity, in fighting and being a public nuisance, it was because I felt like I had some shit to prove. If I'm honest with myself, I wanted respect. And I was going to get that respect one way or another, even if it took extreme measures. But once I got physically strong and capable, and I knew what I could do to somebody, I stopped acting like that. Like it was almost like an insecurity. And being strong gave me the confidence to not have to prove that I'm being strong, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
When I started getting strong and started training seriously and making progress, and every time you hit that personal record, that's tangible. That's a tangible reward psychologically.
So if you didn't make that psychological change at that age, where would you have ended up?
Bro, just like where a lot of my friends ended up, in the penitentiary. This shit ain't rocket science. I'm lucky. I'm very blessed because I don't know how many times I've done some shit that could have landed me in the penitentiary. But God had another plan for me. It's just that simple. I got lucky.
So how does it make you feel now knowing that training basically changed your life completely?
Yeah.
From, being a penitentiary or dead.
Yeah.
To now being in a position to where you're able to change other people's lives doing exactly the same thing.
Oh, to me, lifting is more than what lifting is for most people. It really is. Like,
No, the question is, how does that make you feel knowing that you're helping other people find that?
It was the goal. That was the goal for me all along. Like I didn't open up the gym to make money. You know what I'm saying? I knew I wasn't going to get rich opening up a gym. But if I could sustain a livable wage and help people feel better the way I was feeling, then shit, man, what else could I be doing that's more rewarding than that? Man, we really change people's lives in there. We really are causing change in the community. For the people that are brave enough to walk through the front door, they're going to reap a reward that unfortunately a lot of people, they don't get to reap.
Mm-hmm. Seeing his path go from where he was to what he's just saying now, how does that make you feel?
I mean, I feel every day I feel great. Every day I feel
for him.
I'm happy for him. I'm so happy for him. I know that I'm happy for him because I know that this is what he loves to do, and and a lot of people can go down a path of doing something that they don't love to do, but they're doing it just because they need a paycheck. And for him, every day, being able to show someone how to use a piece, it literally brings him joy to show somebody how to hook up a sled and add 2 plates and do face pulls or whatever it is that he does. Like, he will stop everything he does to help that person because he knows that that's going to help that person be a better lifter or a better get healthier or whatever the case may be.
Bro, this shit bleeds out into every aspect of your life. You know what I'm saying? Like, the weight room, the lessons you learn in this weight room are applicable everywhere, yo. Like, there was this kid at the gym, Bulldog. I think he wound up squatting 1,000 pounds. But I mean, just one of the freakiest strength athletes I've ever been around. but also at the time, one of the silliest people I've ever been around. Like, he was selling gear and shit on Instagram, making stories with syringes hanging out his ass and shit. But it got to the point to where, like, people thought we were peddling the drugs. And now my gym is in danger of being, you know, raided by the police or some shit. He's put my family in danger. Bro, I don't even use steroids. So I fucking called him in, and I said, bro, are you a fucking idiot? Are you stupid? Like, you're taking pictures of syringes hanging out your ass on an IG story? You know that shit's a federal crime? What was crazy is nobody had told him that shit. Whoever he was surrounded around never told him that this is a bad idea. And so he's feeling real remorseful. I tell him the trouble he's gotten Michelle and I into. Like, some other fucking dude had told us the police are looking at the gym. And you know, I'm irate because at this point, bro, you're sacrificing everything my family and I have cried, bled, and worked for. And I might have had a kid on the way. So I'm talking to this kid, and you know, he's really remorseful. He just doesn't know what to do. He thinks he's selling the damn steroids to fucking create a living. And I'm like, bro, you're one of the best lifters I've ever met. You're one of the best lifters walking around planet fucking Earth. Like, that shit doesn't happen accidentally. Like, that's in you. That greatness is in you and could be applied in school, in work, in whatever the fuck you want. You just have to put that same focus into something. Fast forward maybe 3 years, 4 years. Anyways, he came by the gym like a month or two ago. And now he's the general manager of this big roofing company. And he's making 6 figures. And he's in control of fucking 75 people. And all he wanted to do was thank me. And he always brings up that conversation whenever I have it with him. He didn't realize he could transfer that. I mean, I'm a product of it myself. Like, when I changed my mentality about school, I started attacking that homework and those tests the same way I attack my training. And I just refused to lose. Nobody in that classroom was going to make a better grade than me. I just used the same mindset. Like, lifting's given me and my family a lot. It's given us everything. I don't take it lightly. And I feel like it's my responsibility to make sure that everybody else that I come in contact with at least has the opportunity to reap the rewards of what it's done for me as well.
So you can do that in your gym, right? With that same advice, that same mindset, same thought process. How would you construct that message to the people who are listening to the podcast right now?
Rephrase that question for me 1 second, Dave.
All right. So you're talking about how this lifter, you know, you had this conversation and strength training. You basically showed them how strength training can carry over to other facets of their life, right?
Yeah.
That's meaningful and impactful to do if you're looking in somebody's eyes and they can be able to see
I got
that,
you.
right?
Yeah.
We're behind a microphone right now, you know, so it's a message I've been trying to send for 20 years. You know, how would you construct that message for the people that are listening?
When you think, I mean, that's a hard question, but I'll just go with my gut. When you think about what it takes to maximize your strength and the potential you have physically, when you talk about hard work, which is what it's going to take, but the truth of the fact is that hard work is just going to scratch the surface. The real discipline of becoming as strong as you possibly can be is a multi-approach kind of discipline. You're going to have to research and learn and figure out your individual leverages and mechanics. That takes reading, that takes watching, that takes trial and error, that takes practice, that takes failure. You're going to have to optimize your nutrition the best you can. That also is a lot of trial and error, unlike a lot of professionals will tell you. You're going to have to sleep well and maximize your recovery, even when you want to train, you're going to have to back off. That may be the biggest form of discipline, not training when you want to train. All these characteristics I'm talking about are applicable to anything. Learning, discipline, hard work, sacrifice. If you can do that in this arena, and you can understand that in this arena, you can do it in any arena. I think where the disconnect is you have to want to do it. You understand what I'm saying? Like, it's hard to put this same discipline. We all love lifting so much. I mean, we'll do it to the day we die. But how do you motivate yourself enough to do those same things in something you don't care as much about? That's the disconnect. But my answer to that would be, don't do the shit you don't care about. I'm serious. I mean, if you truly love something and other people are doing it, you can do it as well. You know, it's not going to be easy. I think that's where most people fuck up. They think it's going to be easy. It's going to be just as hard as anything else. But if you truly love something and you want to do it, then you should do it. You should do it. And it's going to take sacrifice, and you're going to fail, and you're going to wonder if you made the right decision, and you're going to have to, you may take a loss financially, but in the end, if you stick with it, you'll do it because it's what you love to do.
Mm-hmm. Are there any topics that you wanted to cover that we didn't talk about?
I just no, but I'd love to just thank the people, like something like what me and Michelle have been able to do and are still striving to do. It's not a singular effort. It's not me and Michelle solely. And I can't even thank the amount of people that have helped us along this path and this journey. We're blessed to be around the people we're around, from our families, my mom and dad, her mother and father, to our staff that literally will and have done everything for us, and particularly when we're not there. And that's when it really matters. When they hold the gym to the standard Michelle and I want it held to, when nobody's looking. Those are the type of people I have working for me now. Our members, for the most part, our long-term members are the same way. They're like mini employees. They love the gym so much. I just want everybody to know that I'm thankful for everybody in my life. I feel privileged to be in the position I'm in. I feel blessed to be a part of their journey. And what we're accomplishing now isn't this great effort but by me and Michelle. It's a great collaborative effort by a lot of people that won't be on a podcast, and some of which that won't ever get a world record or won't make nationals. But they're in there spreading their energy and positivity in the gym, helping the next man. And Dave, before we get off, if we're going to conclude, I really want to thank you. Anybody from heavy metal that's listening to this, without Dave Tate, there is no heavy metal. You will be training somewhere else. I don't know where that is. But Dave, before it was popular to do it, created something online for people like ourselves that really, really, really bleed strength training. He created the Elite Fitness website. For me, it was my go-to source for information. Before I owned a laptop, if I had the money to get a fucking Flex magazine, that was the extent of, you know what I'm saying? That was the extent of what any sort of outside knowledge I could get, you know? So I got my laptop, I got on your website. You had written an article that I just so happened to find, which led me to your website. And for a decade, I was on that website every single day. And a lot of what I know now, a lot of what I practice now, a lot of what I've learned along the way started with you, including learning about Louis Simmons and Westside Barbell. It started with you and what you put forth at a time when not many people were doing it. I don't know if you or Louis get the credit for that. The information you guys were so generous with when a lot of people weren't putting out good information. And there's a whole generation of people just like myself. And it's funny because I can identify it right away. Oh, this motherfucker must be my age, because I could tell by the way he trains. I could tell by, the movements he's doing. Like Phil Daru is kind of one of those guys. I think did you have him on the podcast at one point? Oh man, you should. Mm-hmm. But I could tell right away when I ran across Phil Daru, I was like, oh yeah, he's a West Side, he's an elite, and he's a Joe DeFranco dude. You know what I mean? There's just this block of time where you were kind of like our damn father and shit. You know what I'm saying? Because anything you said was gospel. Anything that was on your website, we took as gospel because we knew you wouldn't let a bullshit person write for your website. The equipment you came up with was at a standard that, didn't exist at the time. And man, to me, you're an icon in our industry, man. The fact I'm sitting here at this table is kind of surreal, to be honest. It really is, man. From 2001, when I got my laptop, to 2022, now sitting in front of you, having a conversation about that journey. It's surreal.
No, I appreciate that. I mean, but you put in the work. You know what I'm saying? So you had to take the information, as you were talking about earlier. I think this is kind of where some of that disconnect come from. Right. You had to take the information, but then you had to use it. Yeah. And you had to apply it. And then you had to put it to other people, which is, the company was founded on this live, learn, pass on thing, and there's a lot of components to that, but, the responsibility comes onto the person that receives the message. How are they going to receive the message? Are they going to keep learning from that message? Are they going to learn more, than what I knew at that time, more than what I know now, and then be able to pass that on to other people, which is what you're doing, which is why you're sitting at the table. Yeah. Because it embodies everything that the company was founded on and what it was for. With one of the things that you were saying last night at dinner, which resonated with your culture, when it hit me more so when you showed me the picture of all the platforms sitting in the middle of that field and all the plates, when you can have a culture of people, when you put on a strongman competition. And I don't think Matt really grasped it either. I mean, he understands setting up the equipment and all that other stuff. Yeah. I'm just sitting there thinking these plates would suck to have to carry. And what was like 16, how many platforms?
No, there was over 90 45-pound plates.
Oh, no. So we had 2 deadlift ladders, so 10 barbells. Think about, so that's 5 different barbells. But the super heavyweights, their first bar started at 585. So 585, 635, 675, 735 on 2 ladders. And then think about, we're out there all fucking day. I mean, that was a damn...
In Texas.
In Texas. Bro, I didn't pee. I told you I was so dehydrated at the end of the night, I realized, oh, shit, I haven't peed one time today. Right. But check this out. This is the kicker. You saw that shit set up. So we got it all set up. We had to take it all back that night, back to the gym, set it all back up, clean up the gym, getting ready for the next day of business.
For the gym to open.
Yeah.
I can't do that without the people I'm surrounded by. These people are selfless. They're selfless, man. I've met some of the best people. They're so generous. They're so selfless. They love us so much. It's easy for us to get past a bullshit person. Like when somebody does us wrong or burns us, or somebody's being a pussy and talking shit behind our back, I don't give a fuck. Bro, I'm surrounded around too many good people. I'm going to put my energy into them. I'm not letting this person bleed me, man. I got too many beautiful people around me, man. And like I said, from all walks of life. And if there's a blessing that came with this gym, it's that. Then I'm surrounded around these badass people that I never would have met had it not been for the gym.
Yeah. I don't want to leave that without, making that statement a little bit more profound, that the criticism's going to be there, the bullshit's going to be there, the drama's going to be there. You're not without that.
Oh, of course not.
It's there. I mean, you're a gym owner. Right, it's there. Right. To probably a higher extent.
That could be a whole nother podcast.
Yeah. I mean, that's there.
All the,
just like everywhere else, maybe even higher.
Right.
But to be able to tune that out, to be able to focus,
Yeah.
I mean, you can't completely tune it out because you got to, sometimes there's lessons to be learned with
Right,
that. But,
right.
you know, but you got to not let it piss you off all the time.
Of course, man.
Right.
Because then they win.
Yeah, 100%. And they're not worth it. They're not worth it. I'm not letting them change my happiness. I'm not doing it, man. Initially, when something like that happens and you're trying so hard to be the best you can, and it hurts. And it does take away from you, and you're literally hurt. You know what I mean? But then over time, you harden. It's unfortunate, but you harden. And now I've gotten to a point to where like it almost doesn't even affect me, man. If you're not happy and we've done the best we possibly can, then kick fucking rocks. Because I'm putting my energy into the people that truly appreciate us, man, and support us.
I mean, there's people that have $40 to their name and would only want to pay their membership, and that's it. You know, just because the gym means that much to them, or you know, getting in there and lifting weights. That's what brings them, you know, happiness. And you know, we've met so many people that, you know, love the gym, you know, they've met their wife at our gym. We have a couple that got married. They have a baby. I mean, we have people that are training partners like brothers now, Nick and Austin. You know, it's just a place where people feel so welcome and so loved that it's like infectious, and then it just kind of spreads to everybody else too in there.
And meanwhile, you have the people that are asking for a week credit when they go on vacation.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, that's
For real.
That's the thing. Like you again, going back to like, if you want to own a gym, like just know like there's nothing that's gonna surprise you. There's nothing that you're not.
Oh,
gonna,
it will the first.
Yeah,
time,
it's gonna surprise you. But over time, you know, you just know that like, just like in any customer service world, like you never know what you're gonna get, and you just have to treat every, you know, instance as best you can with respect. You know, like you said, you're not gonna make everybody happy. You know, hey, I didn't like, you know, this, or hey, you know, whatever the case may be. You just tell them, you know, I'll do my best to make it right the next time for you, or whatever the case may be. But you know, just like I said, just knowing. I mean, we have members from 2014.
Ben. We have a dude. This guy's. He's just so unbelievably generous and thoughtful. This dude, he left the gym. When did Ben leave
Ben
the
was
gym?
here. Ben was one of our first members. He was in the military, so he did 3 years, and then he was gone. And we, you know, he'll message us every couple months and say, hey, are you guys going to be at the Arnold? I'm going to be there. I'm lifting, because he's in the military. He lifts, and he lifts for USAPL, and he's a judge. But you know, Ben isn't the most, you know, outgoing type of person. He's real introverted, but I think it's because we let Ben know that he meant something to us when he was one of our first members, and we treated him with kindness and respect. You know, we became like his family.
One day, we just got home from the hospital, had our first baby. Keep in mind, he lives in Maryland or some shit. The doorbell rings. I open it up, and it's Ben. He just came to give us a gift card and shit.
And some baked us brownies.
I'll be at a contest in North Carolina with Jackie or somebody. Next thing I know, somebody's tapping me on my shoulder. It's this dude. He came just to support Jackie. Like, I mean, we've just met some really, really, like, thoughtful. I remember we had a couple, not to just go on and on and on, but they were very religious. They do well for themselves. Every month they give to whatever they want to give to as
like
part
a tithe.
of.
They do tithes.
Yeah, they gave us $1,400. Just gave it to us.
They've been members for not even a month yet, and they said that that's what they allocated every month. They allocated, you know, depending on their finances, what they were gonna give to either church or something that they felt strong about or supported. And we were that. I mean, I didn't understand what was going on.
Yeah,
but
when you come across people like that, you just realize there's levels to everything, right? Like there's levels to how grimy people can be and how selfish they can be, but there's also levels to how generous and angelic people can be. And if you're gonna choose which one to put your focus on, you know what I'm saying?
No, that's easy.
Word, man.
Well, I shouldn't say it's easy, right?
Yeah, it's not.
Still a conscious
It's a learned
choice.
thing.
Yeah, it's a learned thing. customer service compared to box seats to the gym.
Right.
Which is better? Which is worse?
Well,
it's different.
It's different. It just.
But let's say you have to scale it on a scale of 1 to 5.
Well, I think in a box seat, right? Like that's a certain type of person typically, and they want something a certain way, and I used to have clients that wouldn't drink out of a plastic cup. That's just, they would never do it. So it's a little, obviously it's easier because I own the gym, and more, your kind of average person walks in the door versus me kind of having to, like, no matter what, answers yes. Whatever you need, here it is. I'll find it if you need it, right? Like you make it happen for these people because they have the money. But honestly, I still treat our heavy metal members and our people that walk through the door like it doesn't matter what kind of car you drive, what you look like, what kind of shoes you got, holes in your shirts. We've seen,
how strong you are,
or how strong
not
you
strong.
are, right? Like when you come into our gym, like your first point of contact is someone that's gonna care about who you are and bring you in and ask you if there's anything you can, we could help you with. So I think that experience doesn't happen a lot maybe in these days because a lot of things are online, they're buying things online. There's no like in-person kind of interactions as much. But what we try to do is we stay true to ourselves and we stay true to those interactions. And I think, like I said, it takes people back, but it brings them back and they love it. They love that they matter. Because some people, they just want to feel like they matter somewhere. The
world's getting more and more disconnected.
Right.
We all know that. So for us, we're trying to bring some shit back to community, back to face-to-face, back to relationships, back to being together. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not into this fucking antisocial, like everybody talks about being antisocial like it's a cool thing or some shit. But to me, shit, as an introverted person, that's a weak thing. Like, it's hard to be social. It takes work, it takes skill, it takes courage. You know what I mean? Like, I would much rather be a social person. And I got to work at it too, just like everybody else. You know what I mean? So, I give the people that are actually still training in a gym, especially a small gym like ours, I give them mad credit, man. Especially a high stimulus energy gym like ours, where you're going to be in contact with people. You're going to have conversations. You're going to be asked for a spot. A lot of people can't handle that shit nowadays. A lot of people don't even want to try to handle it. But in the long run, they're the ones not developing. I miss the old days, man, of when if I needed to talk to somebody, we talked. Like, it wasn't an email or text. I almost damn near refuse to text now. Like, I'm serious. I'd rather call the person. To me, when somebody calls me, it means a lot more. So with that in mind, our gym is a hub to build relationships.
If one thing that you wish you would have known when that old man was showing you the gym, what's just one thing?
That's funny.
Probably just how hard.
Let's say it's not going to change anything,
right.
But you just would have not. You would have really liked to know.
You mean as far as like?
I don't care what it is.
I think the amount of work. I've seen Tim cry. I've seen Tim cry twice. One of them was because of the gym, when a plumber screwed us over, or something like that. And we
I didn't have the money.
We lost 15 pounds, and we had just got screwed by a plumber. We gave him all the money we had to open the second heavy metal. And
so what happened? So you move into a new building, and what the plumbing doesn't work when you move in.
We had to build it out, Dave. We had to build out. So it was two separate businesses prior, a furniture store and a hookah lounge.
The first one, we just turned the key.
The fuck is a hookah lounge?
Where they
smoke like
coals and stuff.
Okay.
But like the first gym was what you call turnkey. Like, you literally open the door and we could open the gym. We just put the racks in and put the turf and we were open.
Yeah.
The second one wasn't like that. So we had no idea, this is, again, like, you're going through a journey. You think you got it all together, because you've been open 3 years, and you get here And, you think, oh, well, all we got to do is tear this wall down. That's easy. And then you realize like, oh, well, there's permits and there's inspections. So we had to go through all of that before we could open this gym, which we didn't know because the landlord had already taken care of all of that in the previous gym. So it was just more of us not knowing, not hiring a general contractor.
Because we didn't have the money to hire
a general, because they want thousands of dollars just to do what we did. But it was just more of like, I had a friend whose boyfriend knew how to plumb, so it was just more like trusting and thinking that everything was going to be right. And then, the inspector came in and said, this is horrible work. You're not going to open. So for a split second, we didn't have a gym anywhere. All the equipment was there, but we couldn't open yet. So
what'd you do?
We had to call another plumber.
Yeah.
We got a loan or something like that, and we had to
He
new
had to
plumber
redo everything.
had to come back and redo everything the last plumber.
It was basically like we spent another $5,000 or $6,000 we didn't even have. Just didn't even have it. And we're still closed another damn who knows how long until we get this permit.
How long do you think it took?
I almost tried to block those days out. That was a tough time.
It was a couple days that we had there was no open, like, thank God this older man was like a plumbing wizard, and he brought a guy in and it went from like, hey, there's no sensor on that, water heater. Like, we're like, we don't know. That's, you just assumed and you trusted this guy. So he came in and, parts, and it took a couple days. But remember, we had thought we had a 3-month process of renovations. So we were preparing for 3 months for that one day of inspections, all 5 inspections, and to pass all those except for that plumbing one. I mean, it was devastating, so we had to come back in and he had to redo everything. And thankfully he did it in like 2 days.
And we had already paid him, in full. And he didn't do anything right. And, it was, just another hard lesson, just a hard lesson to learn.
So what was the lesson you learned from that?
Don't trust your friends, boyfriends who said they're plumbers.
From now on, if I hire a subcontractor, it's by reputation. They got to have a solid ass reputation. It's not going to be a friend of a friend. You can't go cheap on that shit. It has to be right.
I think we were trying to save money, right? And we were trying to just do things and keep it close knit with friends and friends of friends. And, oh, this person said they know how to do that. So
we were getting these quotes from general contractors for $90,000, $80,000. Yeah, we just didn't have that type of bread. So I'm like, shit, we're going to figure this shit out on our own. Having gone through that process, we still way overspent. We spent more money than we had, you know what I mean? So now I understand the value of a contractor. I really do, because then if they're good and they know what they're doing, the responsibility is all on them. Man, we were managing shit we had no idea, Bro, think about it. It was nothing. Like, you built this building, right? Yeah. Like, imagine the first thing we have to do is demo everything. So there's nothing. It's a shell, basically. There's no electricity. There's no nothing. And we had to find the subcontractors and do all this shit. A lot of whatever we could do with our own hands, we did.
My brother-in-law put in all the lighting.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a hard lesson to learn. You know? But honestly, if we didn't have each other, like, there's no way we could have done it.
Yeah.
He was at the old heavy metal from open to close, and I was going to the new heavy metal that was just nothing. And I was there. There was no electricity, just water, all day, every day. I was going to a gas station, using the restroom. Like, we were just, again, the second grind.
And then we got married that same year.
Yeah.
So she was planning a wedding the whole time.
So while this is all going on, right, you're being in similar circumstances like that. Like, it's killing you, right? Mm-hmm. You're pissed off, you're frustrated and all that. But you don't quit, right? Because it's not an option.
It's not an option.
Right?
I got nothing to fall back on.
We've already had this gym built for 3 years. We know how much it means to people already. Like, we now all we can think about is how to make it bigger and better.
Yeah.
Well,
the point I'm getting at is with, other people who are in businesses and stuff, the shit like this is going to happen.
Right.
It's going to happen again. There's going to be worse things that are going to happen. And it's going to fuck your head all up. but it can't fuck it up that much because you got to find a solution for it because there's
Right.
no other option. This
Right.
has to work.
Right. Right.
It cannot not work.
Yeah.
Right.
And the more that you're not working on whatever that freaking, so while you're all pissed off and upset and all that, you at the same time,
Right.
you're trying to figure this out.
Got
Oh,
to.
that's
Like,
exactly
how
what we
can
did.
we figure this out?
That's exactly what we did.
Because the more the people will sit back and bitch and complain and inaction
Yeah.
will kill them.
Word.
Will absolutely kill them. You know, the anxiety will kill them. You know, be depressed, be anxious, but get shit done.
Right.
You know, because it has to. You know, because if you don't, you're fucked.
Yeah. I think that's kind of like having no other options been a blessing for us. Like,
There is always another option because a lot of people that fail know that option.
yeah, see, I don't know what it, I swear to God, if heavy metal was to go under for whatever reason, bro, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know. I have no clue. Maybe a construction job or some shit. I always talk about it. It's like a dream thing. But I really.
Well, that's because the grass is always greener on the other side.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah. But no, like, and in my mind, it won't. If we've come this far, and we get knocked all the way back down to level 1, I'm gonna rebuild this shit right back up.
What's that saying go? Is you haven't come this far to only come this far.
Yeah, that's real talk. I don't know where we're going. We're just riding the wave. Like, we're at Elite Fitness right now.
Yeah.
That was never part of the plan.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We're just riding this wave.
What's the best way for people to find you guys, and where can they get your apparel?
Well, we have an Instagram. They can follow us on Instagram, which I think we have a great Instagram. You can see the gym. You can see all the athletes, all of our events at Heavy Metal Fit.
Because the design is badass.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you.
Hat.
Yeah,
That's
we've got a website. And that's all Tim. We have a website, www.heavymetalfit.com, which you can click on our Instagram and find it in our link tree. But we have a Facebook. We try to have everything we can for people to find us, to find their way to us. And we're just thankful for being a small business. Like, we're just thankful for any type of support. I get the notification. I'm so excited. Like, when someone buys a T-shirt and it says like New York or something, I just think like, wow, like that's so awesome that they found us and they like our, like our logo that much that they want to rock it in New York or whatever. So it really helps a small business, when you support them, even if it's just buying a T-shirt, or liking their Instagram page. It really goes a long way for someone like us.
All right, I want to thank you guys for coming out. All the links are in the description.
Thank you.
And I got a great way of ending the podcast by just saying we're done.